So no Gimmick Bootcamp. This is things that we've done to basically start at ground zero and become what we think is an authority in our space. To validate that, we can say that we've been in Entrepreneur Magazine. Inside Business Locally named us one of the top 75 most powerful and influential people. We've got several companies that have gone through our programs. Some that have found out that business wasn't what they wanted to do, and that's great, to some that have gone from 0 to 10 employees in 18 months, hundreds to millions of dollars in revenues. And the goal for today, for us, is to, for you guys to spend the least amount of resources possible to verify or validate a concept, an idea, a strategy that you guys want to implement. Here's some contact information for me. And then, like I said, we are recording this, so you guys will have access to it as well. So basically, we want to save you guys time and money to validate your next concept. So I believe this is 9 separate modules, 9 or 10 separate modules that we'll go over each in detail. For this specific module, it's who's your customer? And is it a business? Is it a consumer? Yes, there are other ones, but for the purpose of this, we're going to just cover these two. And so by show of hands, how many of you guys think you're selling to other businesses? And direct to consumer, or B2C in the other ones? Consumer. So likely, so I'll say like things like B2B and B2C, business to business is what B2B means, and B2C is business to consumer. Consumers typically, their mindsets are very different than a business. The example I'll do is if you are going to McDonald's and you want to supersize it, but it's your own money, you might be a little frugal on it. If you're spending someone else's money or it's a business account and you can expense it, well, let's supersize it. Just because the type of money and the way that their process and systems are in place is a consumer is very different than a business. Who's buying it, why are they buying it, and the total purse to spend are very different. If you're a consumer, you either have the money that you're bringing in, plus maybe your credit card, where a business has kind of a sales account that's dedicated towards the growth of something, and typically a sales team as well, or at least a sales budget for things. The reason this is important, so here's a great example. My math is wrong here, sorry. If you're going after consumer, let's just, for purpose of this, make it easy. It's $1,000 and $5 per transaction. You have to get 200 customers to get there. By a standard, let's hit 10% of the people that we convert into a sale. That means you got to talk to 2,000 different customers to get that one goal. From a business standpoint, if the transaction is $250 a transaction, you actually only have to talk to 4 customers to, your end goal is 4 customers, which means you only have to talk to 40 customers to do that. It's far easier to get in front of 40 businesses than potentially 2,000 customers. My math's wrong there a little bit, I apologize. Does that make sense though? Why a business would spend more money? Doesn't mean that you should go one way or the other, but just be conscious of how those people are spending money. So there's 10 ways that we found that you can find an idea fairly quickly. As we talked about the pain points a couple of minutes ago, you could go and do that exact same thing to 5 or 10 of your friends and say, let's say you don't know the kind of industry that you want to be in yet. You could email those 5 friends, or maybe it's even 5 people that are in that industry, and say, what is your biggest pain point right now, and try and start developing things off of that kind of purpose. So if you have 5 friends that might be college students or extreme junkies, you could email them and say, you know, is this bike something for you? Maybe it's people that are looking for a better video solution as well. Many different ways to do that. But basically, you just write a simple email to them. I've done this in the past several times. And what I found, actually, is their pain points were something that I hated, so I didn't even want to deal with that. It was kind of like, oh, if you want to be a roller coaster engineer, that's too much work. You don't want to go down that road. So you see what people are needing, and you can kind of verify on both sides. Is it something that you want to do, and is it something that people are looking for? The goal here is to not build something that people don't have problems for. And from the sound of everyone's business in here is no one's trying to, it sounds like, create that next super viral unicorn style company, right? So we're all really solving real problems. And so I think that'll be good for the course today. Leveraging other people's industries. A great example is WordPress, Salesforce, Facebook. They all have great engines that people use on a day-to-day basis with a ton of already customers on there, but there's a lot of pain points that people go through and need solutions for. WordPress, everyone here familiar with WordPress? It's a content management system. And so ways that people have leveraged that is, so they already have all the customers or all the viewers or all the end users, but they don't have all the solutions there, so people can find those solutions and develop new things. Facebook for developers has 35,000 developers that build things off of their platform. Same with the App Store. It's a little harder on the App Store, I think, with 1 million apps now in the store. It's a different game, but and then something like a Salesforce where you can build tools or widgets on top of the solutions or problems that people have. So message boards are a great way to find what people's problems are. Maybe you guys have ever scoured the internet for message boards to see kind of how people are communicating and whatnot. People love to tell people they don't know why something is good or bad. I don't know why. They feel like because their username doesn't say their exact name that they're never going to be found, but people are telling why they dislike something or why they love something. And so you can go to specific message boards in your industry and see what people are saying. I'm sure there's something about deliveries in specific communities that you can learn best practices from these things. For you, it could be accountants that are looking for solutions to save money on overhead, message boards and things like that. Just figuring out where those people are and digging deeper to see kind of what communication they're having or what employees are saying about those type of things as well. That could be a way in that when you're developing those proposals for people, you could say, here's what we're seeing your employees or staff saying, and they don't know it because they're not searching it, and bring that to them and say, look, these are real problems that people are having, and that might be able to escalate some of the sales process to 1 month instead of 6 months. Because that sense of urgency seems very important for you guys. It's always the goal to try and get someone to buy immediately, but it's very difficult to get someone to buy immediately if they have no clue who you are. Quora is another similar message board. Are you guys familiar with Quora? It's similar to, and I think one of the ones on here is Reddit as well. So Quora, people go on and ask questions about anything, basically, and crowdsource answers of what people think. So it could be anything from a marketing question to an education question to something as simple as, what did Kim Kardashian wear yesterday? So people apparently care about those things. You guys will have access to all of the decks as well. Twitter search. So how many of you guys have actually ever searched Twitter for your subjects? So Twitter is one of the top 10 most used companies in the world. Again, leverage other people's data, search game development, gamers at Comic-Con, PR solutions, crisis management, any of those things, and see what people are saying. what you want to do with that is then start developing kind of a strategy around the words that other people are using so that you can use those words in your day-to-day communications, because then they feel comfortable around that. 5 more to go. Facebook business groups. This is hit or miss. Some of these are really good. Some of these are really annoying. There's one local group that I can't stand. I stay on it, and I don't know why. There's one lady who sends something every single day. It's like Hampton Roads businesses, small businesses. And this one person posts every day the same thing. I'm just like, this doesn't work. You can use a business group as a strategy to find other customers. You can create that business group to become the authority. It could be a mastermind group. There's many different strategies around Facebook business groups. And don't always focus on just local, because there's other ways that you can expand as well. If you ever think that you're going to be more than any specific area, don't just focus on that area. Try and win that area, put a lot of the effort there, but don't name the name of something specific to that area if it has a chance to get bigger. Chamber events, what are people talking about at your chamber events? If you're not a member of the chamber, but you're looking to go to one of their events, you don't actually have to be a chamber member. You can go for a discounted rate, or there's even hacks around where you can just say, hey, I'm potentially going to be a member, and they'll give you a free ride to go. And see what kind of the conversations that are going around in the business community that people are having. You could also just scour their web pages and see kind of what the content they're producing, what kind of problems other people are saying. So you're just trying to educate yourself on what other people in your industry are doing. There's always search how to on Google, how to whatever your problem may be. Apparently people are trying to tie ties, get rid of fruit flies, screenshot on Mac. So the first 8 were very kind of focused internet things that you guys can do day to day. The chamber one's a little bit more difficult. You could do a focus group. I think this one's a little bit harder from an infrastructure standpoint, but could always be good. What I would do if we were to do a focus group is we would take the people that we found in those first kind of 7 or 8, and then find the best of those people and then bring us together focus group wise. So that you have 4 or 5 other people that have already been customers before, bring those people back and say, how can we make it better? Is one way that you could do that. I think focus groups is a very old way of doing things if you don't find the right people to give you those answers. And as we were talking earlier, the mom effect can be kind of a bad thing if you get the wrong people to tell you the wrong information. And it's hard to receive data and think that it's great, but then to actually translate that into kind of meaningful and manageable steps. And then you could just create a tool to solve your own business problems. Hatch is that, right? We didn't have the solutions that we want. We went to a lot of other things, and we felt that it wasn't what we were looking for, and there wasn't that solution. So we decided that we had to start creating it, and we did. Accounting sucks, right? You found that your customers weren't understanding what you were selling them, so then create them a solution so maybe they can figure those out. Any questions about these 10? We can go over them more in detail if you'd like. So when finding customers, we went over 3 things, kind of who's buying it, how they're buying it, what their kind of wallets look like in the situation. In a business, they're looking at things as an ROI. As a customer, they're buying it as just kind of a thing. Maybe even status quo. How to find your idea, and now customer discovery. How's the Space Monkey bread?
It's awesome. Really good. But now I'm like a major sugar button.
I will. So this is the business part of a business, the customer discovery. Customer discovery we define as the process of learning as much about how a business or a consumer is using a particular product and analyzing the advantages and disadvantages of that. So you're looking at what other people are using currently and see how that you can learn as much about that process or that product or service as possible.
What if you approach that from an entirely different angle? Like, when I started creating the games that we have now, I didn't look at what the industry did or didn't like. I looked at what I wanted to create, what I thought would be fun, and approached it from that perspective.
So that would be number 10, right? You're building your own solution because that's the problem that you wanted, right? No?
Okay. Yeah.
So you wanted it, so you're building it.
Yeah.
So the challenge with that is, does anyone else want it too? So then you have to try and build your strategy. Ooh, that's good. You have to build your strategy around bringing people to you, saying that this game is cool, I want to be a part of this as well. So you're trying to become that gaming authority so that when you, thank you, when you release it, you already have people that know you as SM5, 6, 7 head, whatever it is today. That you're the authority there, so then they'll potentially follow you just because
Who represent.
Right. And so it is a little bit trickier when you're not necessarily solving an entirely huge problem. But you are potentially solving a problem because people wanted that style of a game, right? And so it's a little bit different. So then you have to create strategies to get people to want to be a part of that. No one needs World of Warcraft on their phone, but they made it so that people had to have it. So that's kind of what you're trying to build.
They build the product and build the need.
Right.
Put two together.
Now the need is, oh my God, I have to get the next one because if I don't, I'm a nobody, right? So every year, a great example for games and the real pain point is how sports do it. And every year you have to get the new one because trades happen, right? So Peyton Manning goes to the Denver Broncos from the Colts. I'm sitting here with Madden 12 or whatever year it is. And Madden won't allow you to update the thing because that's their game. They want to get their $60 a disc. Is saying you have to go buy this, or the new player looks a little different, or we have better graphics. That's the need, the pain point that they served is that every year something is a little better, and so gaming definitely does it. And I think Madden is close to $1 billion a year industry. So
$6 billion.
$6 billion. It's a lot of money. So some recurring questions to ask people when you're trying to get as much data as people as possible. Remember, this is the process of learning as much about the businesses and consumers and how they're using and spending their day-to-days on a specific product or service. So we're asking them, what do you say, or what do you say to them? Who do you say it to? How do you learn as much as possible about them? And how can you learn about their pain points? What you should not ask in this specific case. This is very important. Do you think Y sucks? Do you think QuickBooks sucks? Yes. So then you think that you should create a QuickBooks competitor. And that's very difficult. So QuickBooks is probably, is that the #1 accounting solution in the world? Right. Everyone hates everything for some reason, right? So you don't want to get in general terms. You want to figure out why QuickBooks sucks. Is there really one thing that you hate about QuickBooks? Or is it the whole thing and you do need to create a different solution and that's fine. But most people, and I think with QuickBooks, it's QuickBooks, the downloaded version now, people seem to love QuickBooks Online. They don't necessarily love the hard disk that you have to download and do all that kind of stuff. This doesn't sync. But there's your answer, right? It doesn't sync to other things. It doesn't sync to online. You're trying to dig deeper and get that kind of answer. Maybe they don't like the way that it doesn't refresh a specific thing, right? And so QuickBooks is a bad example because you can't do a lot of things with QuickBooks, but do you think whatever the company you are sucks, wouldn't you like X better? You know the answer is going to be that yes, this company sucks, and yes, of course I'd love to have this better. That doesn't get you anywhere. That gets you at a dead end street. Again, that's kind of like the mom effect for me, where my mom would say that I was a great singer just because she was being a nice mom. When I find out that I do try out 7th grade, it's a terrible day. But you're trying to find those real people, what their real problems are. You could physically ask them. You could do it via email. You could do it through forums. You don't even sometimes even have to ask them questions. People are having the conversations. So you can just extrapolate that data and start putting it in your own spreadsheets. You can figure out that information usually pretty quickly. If you can't, it's one of two things. Either one, it's not a big problem, or number two, no one has. It's too early of a product that people haven't been communicating a lot, or you can be that forum for people to start spitting out that kind of information. So again, customer discovery is meant to gain as much detailed information about how business or consumer is using a specific tool, the who, what, why, and where they struggle with by using a specific thing. So I can't remember if the resource guide has that in there. It does. So the first thing to do with this is make your own assumptions. That's fine. Everything's an assumption until you put data behind it, and then even you have to take that data and say, okay, what are the outliers or not? And to fast forward to a couple things later is a lot of people think that you can make the sale immediately, or it's going to take this many steps to do it. Sometimes it's going to take, you can get that done in 1 step. Sometimes it might take 17 steps. Sometimes it might take years to do those things. But those are outliers. You're trying to find that kind of middle ground to keep in there. So create an assumption list of those that you believe to be using this specific tool. You can, then you reach out and communicate with these, I'd say 15 of these people. And write down all the data, use a spreadsheet as a base. Now here's kind of the kicker. You're starting to get some call to actions in here too. See if you can update them on the feedback that you find in the direction that you decide to go in with. Why do you do this? Because these are early adopters. You're creating a list of people that can potentially turn into customers that you've communicated with. Most likely, these people are going to say, sure, let me know. Another kind of call to action in here is see if there's anyone else that they should be talking with, that you should be talking with in this specific topic. Why? Because then you're getting an introduction, kind of a warm lead to another potential early adopter or customer as well. And if you want to go even further and think that you can't find that target yet, you can create through a very small advertisement on Facebook, as low as $5. You can target people that you think are in a specific industry. We can go over this in a second. How you can target those people and create an ad towards them to try and get some data from them. You can do it as simple as creating a survey to have them fill out, or just seeing who comments and likes and then taking that and then communicating with those people. There's a couple strategies to do that, and I'll show you what I mean in a second. So no one likes to cold email, but sometimes we have to do it. Some tips to consider beforehand. If you can get an introduction, that will always convert higher. Be quick, say what you want, then act on it. Be specific and clear in your ask. Relate if you can. Show interest in why it's important for them, and don't waste time. Some strategies that we use a lot is in the subject line, say exactly what you want. You could even say the end result in there. One thing that we do is we try and keep things under 2 sentences if possible. and think about the way that people are using email now. So email is very much like a text message. The way people are receiving it, they're in their car, they're driving, they're seeing it. And so, it just, I can only read so much unless I click it and do it. Don't assume that the person's going to make that click. Instead, just go, okay, so this is who it's from, and then the subject line is what your end goal is. Then go into the body, say a quick thing, but not too much. And then if you have a lot of details that you have to send, if you've heard the term too long, don't read, or didn't read, do something along the lines of that, where it says, look, here's all we got, here's 2 sentences, here's what we got. For more information, it's all below, but you don't have to read it unless you want to. Get very specific in there, but don't waste people's time with all these bodies of information. We know all that information is great, but we're trying to gauge someone's interest very quickly by doing it via email.
One of the things we used to do when I worked at Booz Allen, the consultancy firm, is they taught us to write the bluff, the bottom line up front. So most people, when they write the email at the very bottom of the email, that's when they put the most important details. So when you're doing a bluff, you take that last sentence of your email, you put it at the very top. This is what I want you to do. This
Right.
is what I'm trying to convince you. And then we'd often, if you have a little header subject. If you want more details, read this long narrative. It'll give you all the history.
Yep.
But at the end of it, it's just bluff. This is it.
So, even another strategy. So the subject line, I want to work with you. Their real name. Seriously, don't just cold email people and not get their name. You're wasting your time if you do that.
I go by AJ, but my real name is Jason. And I face this all the time at work. I sign all of my emails as AJ.
Right.
And people never read it. And they always get my name wrong. And that instantly puts me in a position where I don't want to do this.
Right. Or my name is, like, we don't have info at Hatch, right? So if you're emailing us, it's Zach at Hatch. And then when people email, it's ZACK at Hatch, but they write my name as Zach. I'm like, come on. So it's not the end of the world, but it makes me stop and go, okay, why did this person do these things? If you're cold emailing them, so then 1 to 2 sentences. Get the point, sentences is not spelled right. And then basically say more details below. Then I would even do something, you physically make like a thing, like a line that signifies, and then you can kind of do that. So more details below with links, something like that. It just goes a lot further. Obviously, you can leverage LinkedIn as well. Find their real name, find that person. If you're doing all this education to find out who all these other people are, how hard is it to stop and figure out kind of their tendencies as well with their name? It just goes a lot further. And you don't want to waste these people's time because it's just a pain in the butt.
You don't want your time wasted.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly. So ask the right questions, focus on the checklist. Cold calling and email. Don't do it if you don't have to. And next up, we'll do target customers. You guys want to take a 5-minute break? Keep going. Okay.
Also, when I have your mentor break.
Nope, we'll ask a question. No. So we're communicating to educating. So educating is something that, if someone would ask me if there one specific thing that's helped grow Hatch, and to me it's the education of people to get them to do what they need to then do that and then funnel them down into a solution later. Why do we do that? Because people are looking for that answer, and it's hard for them to find that without having to do something to get there. So we do 150 meetups a year. I'd say 130 of those are free. And so that's the top of our funnel to get them to go into something, most of them educational, all of them educational, to get them to just look at us as an authority in that specific space. And then we start throwing in little triggers to get them to ultimately come to an event like this, go to one of our events, tell their friends, join 1004, buy one of our courses. But they're not going to do those things if they're not, if you sell them first, right? And so they need to be sold that you're the real deal, and you do that by answering their own questions. Does that make sense? So instead of trying to sell them first, you answer the questions that they're searching for, and then set up things so that you can sell them at a later time. People aren't learning from you, they won't come back. Educate by not giving away everything. In some cases, you do give away everything, and that's fine. Just don't do it for free. And think of the broadest amount of information that you can give them, and then once critical mass is established, funnel them down, encourage them to purchase a specific thing. And there's some strategies that will go on later on how to do that. So you have to be different, and I think by educating people instead of selling people is a way to do that. No one in this room of the 8 or 9 of you guys are a huge authority in your spaces at this point. So the goal is to try and become the authority in your space, so that when you do try and sell to someone, it's easier for you to get that sale. It's never been easier to start a business, but it's never been harder to make a sale. The world is very noisy. It's very, very noisy. And I think a lot of people see these internet companies and they think that they can immediately sell to them because they see it somewhere else. You're not Amazon, you're not a shopping mall, so stop trying to be. Instead, educate people and then upsell them at a later time for those things. The mall right down here, their rent is higher because people are walking through there, because when you walk into a mall, people think commerce wallets are about to come out, so that they can charge more rent to be in a place like that because they know people are going to do that. When you're online, people are looking for cats and babies, right? So, or at least that's what stops people a lot. So don't try and sell them that first sale. Search what people are looking for in your industry, and then make it as easy as possible for them to get to your site so that you can educate them. So the average human is exposed to thousands of ads a day. In this room, there's hundreds everywhere. I mean, we have a wall full of them, all the clothes that you're wearing. I mean, hello, this wall, right? That's 100 of them right there. My shoes, your shirt, your beard, your glasses, maybe not your beard. Instead, be different, think outside the box, educate rather than push sales. I'm not saying that sales is important, sales is absolutely important, but we're kind of tweaking the model so that you're not Nike, you're not Amazon, you're not one of those big companies that can go out there and just focus on those things. So you have to educate people and create a curriculum basically for them to go through to look at you different as the authority.
You have to make a connection first.
Exactly. Make that connection by answering their immediate question, and then give them more questions to help them do something else or do that other thing better. One line that those of you who know Dave likes to say is deposit more than you can withdraw. And then we're getting closer to the funnel page, but dive down the funnel, see really who is interested. So 3 ways that we have been able to educate potential and current customers, don't forget about your current customers as well, are the Dummy's Guide to the topic of your choice. To a recently finished project that does not have to physically be a tour where you walk through something. And guest speakers is a way as well. So a Dummy's Guide could be, are you guys all familiar with when those things were really popular? So a lot of you guys talked about time being one of the biggest hurdles to try and get over. A Dummy's Guide is a way for you to reduce a specific topic to start broad and get the answer that you want. what were those books in school that, like, if you had a long book, you can get the really short one? Smart Cliff Notes, Cliff Notes, yeah. It's the same idea, but are those things even still around?
Yeah. Well, most of them are online now.
Okay. But it's the same concept. So take a broad idea that you've been searching for and give them the answer. You can do this by maybe creating a white paper of it, or break it down into smaller blog posts to do that as well. But collect the data that you're seeing, other people look for, and provide to them a collection of their answers in one solution. So in this case, Project Tour is we would bring developers to our office. Developers in this case are software developers that were looking to learn about different tools, and we educate them on a tool that we would be currently using. You could also do this as you could share what's going on with your next features with It's Real TV. You could show people how to put together one-gig bikes. You could say, here's an easy fix to fix the lights and save 20% a year in efficiency. Here's a way to do counting the specific way. It can be very short 1-minute videos. It could be a quick blog post that just says a specific problem solution statement. Here's 3 ways to get through a crisis when this happens. That's all this is. It's touring a specific topic that you are very accustomed to, that you're very well versed in. And what was the way, in this case, what worked for us was we were hiring, so we needed more developers, so people liked that we were teaching them, and then we could then go and hire them. So let's say that you don't want to write something, you don't want to produce something, but you're not afraid to reach out to someone that's an expert in that topic. Bring people to a location of your choice. Maybe it's your office, maybe it's a library, maybe it's someone else's office, and have a guest speaker talk about that specific topic and have them educate people. What's really interesting about this is you can do one of them, right? So every Tuesday we have kind of a guest speaker come in and educate people on a specific topic. But when you do a panel, 3 or 4 people, the marketing trickle effect is not everyone's going to know all 4 of those people. Those 4 people, 3 or 4 people, aren't going to have the same list of people to email or invite. So you're getting, you're leveraging all these other people's networks to bring people to you as well. And because you're the person inviting those people, you're getting your name out there by basically trying to market and educate someone else. And just because a lot of these things seem physical doesn't mean that you physically have to do it. You could do a webinar with multiple people. You could do, I guess, blog post with 3 or 4 people answering a specific question. You could do, now you could do Periscope or Meerkat. See where people are and try and communicate with them. The goal is to ask as many questions as possible. So I have a journalism degree, so here's some blog post tricks. So where it doesn't just have to be with blogs, but there's this concept called the diamond effect. So you're trying to hook someone at the very beginning, say something influential, controversial, that will get them to stop and read it, right? 84% of quotes or links never get clicked because it didn't intrigue someone enough to do it. So that's like that hook, that highlight. And then you start opening it up and telling a story. So if you ever watch a TV show or a TV report, you'll start to see this. So they say something really impactful, then they try and get the nuts and bolts out of it by telling a specific story, hopefully both sides of the story. And then they funnel that back down to the bottom and say something heated, controversial, or hot at the very end, and kind of connecting all of it together. So the topic sense is make your point, but make it controversial, get people to stop. But don't lie at the same time, right? So one of our best blog posts that ever worked was what I learned by running my first half marathon. And so it did well in the runner world. And then I would say, this is what happened. Here's my story. Finding it out. Tell me it was the worst day of my life. Was one of this physical. And then bring it back down. You want to have facts in there, stats, stories, quotes, and how to apply this back to yourself in there as well. So it's literally a diamond that goes back down. The best journalists really use it and do it well. So be thinking about that when you guys either write posts or not. Hosting meetups has been absolutely wonderful for us. So Hatch started by hosting a meetup 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago, something like that. February of 2010, February of 2011 actually. It was, hey, I'm an entrepreneur, but I know a couple entrepreneurs, but I really don't know what I'm doing. But I think I can learn from the people and basically fake it till you make it. And we're probably still faking it till we make it, but we'll see. Kidding. But we would invite specific people that we thought would be good fits. So we had some entrepreneur friends, past and we made this very exclusive, past and present entrepreneurs. And we said, we want you to come here. I'm going to provide you with something. In this case, it was free beer. For some reason, beer always works. And we really didn't know what was going to happen, right? So because it was the first time, you never have a data point to know what's going to happen. You have hopes, but you try and just do that first one. And so there we said, hey, we potentially going to do another one of these. What we did was just talk about kind of best practices in business, and people were looking for that kind of solution. It was, didn't know kind of what was going to happen. And so 15 people showed up. It was very engaging. And 3 hours later, I had to kick people out of the office. A couple of things that you want to do here is collect an email. So you'll see when you walk in the office here, there's like a sign-up sheet. We have that there so that people that walk in here or people that visit our website, make sure that we never lose that. Right? You get them there, it's hard to get them to come back again. We'd say, well, give us your email so that we can follow up with you later and tell you about this next event. And then we would follow up with them. All right, so then we polled them and said, what do you guys want to learn about next? And we did anything from like hiring employees, here's some sales strategies, firing employees. Basically, it was a physical mastermind group of some up-and-coming entrepreneurs. And it was very exclusive for about 9 months. And we said, if you want to invite someone else that fits this criteria, you're very welcome to do that. But if you bring someone that's the wrong fit, they're not going to be asked to come back in next month. So the chamber would allow anyone to go there, mostly sales staffs. B&I group is good for some people, but it's mostly sales staff, people trying to do those sales. There's other organizations that the sales staffs just go there. For us, what our niche was you have to be an entrepreneur. You have to be past or present entrepreneur so that you understand that the people that are in here are going through a specific thing, so you don't feel pushed to be being sold something. And that worked for us. So depending on how big the event is, you want to meet everyone. We host a coffee event here now every Tuesday morning. It's more difficult for me to do that. So what I do is I take a picture of everyone at one point in the room and make sure that I have a list, and I try and say, okay, I didn't meet that person, but hopefully I can, as they're walking out, figure out who they are so that I can communicate with them later so that I can at least talk shop with them as well. Never talk sales. Never. Other people might do it. Never talk sales. Why? Because you want to be different. You're that educational place. Meet at your office if you can. Invite those who you think could be clients or customers. In this, the don't talking sales thing is very difficult, especially when someone says, well, what do you do? Or how can I get involved? And you have to sit there and analyze that very quickly and say, is this person saying, give me your sales thing? Or can you tell them something else so that it's not trying to make that transaction right now? Because you're not likely going to make that transaction right now. They're going to go back to all those other things. So you have to find words and verbiage to figure out how you can get them a next step so that when you do ask for that transaction to happen, you make sure that you can swipe the card. And I still struggle with that because some people are like, oh, we have this, and I'm like, don't say that, you know. So or say something, but just say like the benefits to a program. Oh yes, so we have, you know, someone comes to coffee, so that's a free event. And we try and say, oh well, why don't you come to one of our expert workshops and just stay the whole day? Then they can be around other people, or let me send you a video of this piece of content, or here's this blog post that might answer this specific question. Instead about talking about you, try and pivot it and say, so what are your problems that you're going through right now? What's keeping you up at night? Where are you trying to get to? So instead of telling about you, you try and swerve it back to, so why are your accounting needs so poor right now? You know, okay, so is it because you don't have a tool to do that? Is it because you don't have enough time? Well, here's some things that we've done to make better time. Here are some solutions that we found for this. To try and get it always back to them instead of you. Because if you're just sitting there selling, instead of you answering their questions, you're selling instead of educating. And then follow up with them with some more educational information. Here's maybe what we talked about today. Promote next events, reinforce the topics, and provide links as possible. Now we do this for a couple of our events. We do it in a mass kind of way. For the majority of those things, mass meaning 50 people show up. We go into our email provider and say, here's the links to what we talked about. Here's some of the content that we talked about. With that, and then those individual conversations are done one-to-one via email or not. Oops. All right, so content creation. We'll take a break after this one. So when you're creating content, remember, we were not authorities yet, so we can't be dictating these things. We're trying to create education or content to educate those who are looking for this specific information. So we've looked at different forums, we've had questionnaires with people, we've had events with people, and now we're trying to take all that data and create content around some of the problems that they were talking about. You want to create the value through this, and keep people coming to your site, and you're trying to establish yourself as an authority. So content is really anything. It could be blogs, it could be a post on social media, it could be a webinar, it could be a meetup, it could be a networking event, it could be a calendar of events, it could be a media publication, a business card, it could be anything. Content is content. But you just need to be conscious of where each piece of these contents is, what's sharing about you, and are you dictating it as much as you can. And likely, you can dictate all of these to exactly what you want it to be. So how do you figure out what to write about? Again, search how to. See what other things are out there, and use that as a leverage. Maybe it's a response to that specific article. Maybe it's a more in-depth to that article. How many of you guys have heard of Reddit? Crazy database of information there. See what people are talking about there. It's not just people talking about space. Even though there's a lot of space pictures there. What?
Pluto in less than 3 days.
Really? What's that?
Pluto?
Yeah, what do you say?
Yeah, we're talking about space. So the first ever probe to Pluto is going to be there in less than 3 days.
Oh, okay, gotcha. That's sweet.
The last time humanity saw a planet for the first time was 1989.
Wow. Did you learn that on Reddit?
No, I'm a space geek. Pluto's my favorite planet.
There you go.
I have an app on my phone that tells me exactly how many millions of kilometers and exactly how many seconds when closest to town.
Wow. So you guys want to follow trends as well, optimize your search engine marketing on relevant hashtags to this. So when you're creating that kind of content, people are searching for those things and finding you. I also recommend if you're going to get into the hashtag game, create your own hashtag to try and get people to do that. It's very hard to get people to find that specific thing. So we'll take a 5 minute. All right. Social media. Social media is a very interesting thing these days. And it can be pretty difficult to try and manage. You know, do you do yourself? Do you do the business? Do you do a combination of both? Right?
Yes.
So you said you never really sold yourself, right? We've really tried to never sell just me or just someone that works here or something like that. It's always trying to be Hatch. And so what's interesting is, because I've never wanted it to be about me, I've wanted it to be about the people surrounding me and making things happen. So one of our biggest concerns now, or our biggest hurdles now, is I'm hosting a TV show now. And so it never mentions Hatch, or very rarely mentions Hatch. So how do we leverage that name that people see there and not miss out on that and all this stuff that we built up? And so it's difficult to figure out, you know, is it just Zach? Is it Zach Miller? Is it Zach with Hatch? Is it Hatch is Zach Miller? Do you just do a combination? The answer for us is a combination of those things, really. And on like Facebook, where your individual pages, you can get out and get a decent amount of exposure, or the business pages, if you're not paying for or boosting that content, most people don't see it. Less than 10% of people will see posts now organically. And so you have to kind of figure those pieces out to figure out what really and where are people going to see this information. And so it's hard for us not to use my personal page that gets good exposure because it's free. Why spend money when you don't have to? But then, you know, is it hurting the brand or not? And so we've been playing around recently with a dedicated my name page, which I'm not too thrilled about. But after every show, I'm getting like 15 friend requests from people I have no idea who they are. So it's like, okay, can we take these people? And at some point, there's a trigger that says you have too many friends. I don't know what the number is. I'm not there yet. But at some point, we're going to have to do that anyway. And so it's trying to figure out how do we move them to a different page that then we can boost as well and get information out to more of the general public, I guess. And so figuring that out is important. You know, are people going to, because people ultimately in the beginning are going to buy from you because they feel comfortable around you, not necessarily your company's name. There's a guy who owns a fitness studio, Jim White. His company is called Jim White Fitness. And he and I recently had the talk, and he said, look, 10 years ago when we started, it was hard because I didn't want it to be that either. But someone who was in a similar position said that name goes further. You know, they're saying your name more than other things. And so just be conscious of that and leverage it when you can. And some of us, you know, sometimes can actually have names that physically say what they're doing, which is good too. So still emphasize on the education of this. Free content equals value, and establish yourself as an authority in the industry, as always. So now you're looking as the industry of social media as your medium to do this. Much better this time. I had cold coffee today. Not intentionally. Worst. So again, on social, you're educating. You don't want to be too salesy. What you can do, and there's, I'll show you a strategy kind of post here in a second. But you don't want to become part of the clutter. Next time you're on Facebook, both on your desktop and mobile, scroll through, or any media, Instagram, Twitter, anything that you is kind of social. Scroll through and see what stops you, and start being aware of what stops you. And then see if you can replicate that in a post of yours, like other people that are your target customers. So what's going to stop me is going to be very different than what stops you, et cetera. And see if what does stop you. And what I mean by that is people are on social, similar to email. And we'll just pull up Facebook. And so you go through, and this is how a lot of people are on social media. They just do this. And then at some point, something stops them. What is that? Just be aware of that and see if something like that is a strategy that you can use in your marketing for these things. You could do something as simple as take a screenshot of those things, those specific words, and then just put them in a file. And then one day look through all those things when you're ready to make a post and see, oh, this stopped me, let's work. One of our best posts ever from a strategy using that, we did the exact same content or the exact same words, but used different images. And the one that stopped or converted the highest was a picture of it was a business post. It was a picture of a roller coaster with ups and downs and turns and stuff, conversions as they call it, inversions. And so that's what stopped people. So then for a series of a few weeks, we would use roller coaster pictures. It was also the winter, so I think people were trying to get their summer on. We used those type of images to see if people would stop. Because business and roller coaster, the analogy was there, and we were able to use that as something that would convert higher. And in that conversion, it was significantly higher. And so we did the exact same text and words, and those are the ones that did best. Yeah, so don't say things like just come see us today, visit our website. Tell them why they should go there, or send them directly to there. Don't just say come here today to do this. Give them a reason to do that. Think of this as you're walking at the mall, and the lady's going to give you the little toothpick of food. She's enticing you to try it, to hope that you like it, to then buy it. You want to give something like that to get someone to make that click. Back to the diamond, it's that thing. It's that hook. It's trying to hook you to do it. The hardest thing with social media is trying to create contagious and engaging content. The best way you can do this is by listening to what other people are saying in your industry and use that information, speak in their words to create. Do your research, find out what people want, and give it to them. Mix your own original content in with other people's that have already created. Don't just post your own stuff. A lot of stuff that we do is the actual content, the actual posts are typically written posts, or videos are typically ours, but we'll from other people's content, what we'll post is usually quotes from other people's and that people like, whether just images or the text version of that. We're in the business of helping other businesses and people, so we say motivational quotes and things like that people like. Example, last night posted something about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, saying something like, be humble, but always be the hardest worker in the room. And that did well. Because he has a recognizable face. So we started seeing trends like that, and we use things like that. Always provide the context, not just a link. Don't just share a link and say, I think we went over this a couple weeks ago, don't just share a link and not say why someone should click it. Don't think that because it's obvious or an assumption to you that you know why you like it, that anyone else is going to want to do it. Say why you're sharing that post. Engage with those people as well. and encourage your readers to participate and respond and give their 2 cents. If you expect people to comment on your blog post, give them a reason or access to a way to do that. If you want people to tag their friends or share it or comment or like, tell them to do that. I'm not saying do that every single time, but if you're expecting people to like your post, comment, and share, you need to tell them to do that too. So you're trying to get your followers to engage with other people. So in the comment boards on a specific post, you want someone to tag their friend on a specific subject, because you're then taking that information and you can use that as a warm lead, as someone that if someone's tagging someone, there's a reason why. So then you can follow up with that person and see if you can get more information out of them as well. An example is one of our companies has a, it's called Drink Tank. They are how do I explain this? So there's a lot of people that want to brew beer, but they don't want to buy the stuff or do it at their own house. So they have a facility where you can go and brew beer under their watch. They do all the cleaning up, but at the end of the day, your beer is made. And so they had a workshop, and a bunch of people tagged people in the thing, saying, here's Johnny and Amy and so. You should check out this event. So that's someone basically giving you a warm lead or an introduction about your product. So then you have people that you can then communicate with, and hopefully educate them more on the topic at hand. Does that make sense? So if I have a pet peeve in the world, this is it. So you get people to do what you've wanted them to do, interact with you, and you don't do a damn thing about it. You just let it sit there. Always respond. Even if it's negative, always respond. Now there's a difference between like being negative and being like discriminating, right? Discriminating, you might want to delete that post, ban that person, do something like that. But if someone is just like criticizing something, try and figure out why, right? Figure out what is going on. Why didn't their experience with you or what you've posted resonate with them the way that you wanted them to? Maybe it's just context. Maybe a couple of weeks ago, someone walked through the door and stayed here for an event, and afterwards I followed up and said, "What did you think?" This person said, "Well, I didn't feel as welcome as I wanted to be." And I could have taken that as one of two ways. Either, screw you, sorry you didn't feel that way. Or two, try and figure out why and fix that. And so I went that way and tried fixing it and said, come back again. What was the issue? What did you see? And the answer was, well, I came in and I didn't know the other people, so I felt like an outsider. So it's like, okay. So now the people, or when we have new people come in, or even every once in a while, let's have people introduce themselves very quickly so that they know what other people are working on, so that it's a more comfortable environment. And so invite her back in a sense. We've had more conversations, and I think that piece was there. And so that's the type of information you're trying to get out of people, so that you can learn from that. And so the way I look at it is, wow, there's been a lot of people before you. How many times did that happen that we didn't figure that out, that we could have figured that out before? So the great thing about all this stuff is you can be using this for current customers too. If you're not constantly communicating with people, figuring out what they want, then you're just making these guesses and you could be wasting your time. And so that's why it's important to figure out what people want. You're in the business of customer service. That's it. You're in the business of pleasing other people. And if you're not willing to go to bat and defend and do whatever it takes for those people within reason, then we shouldn't be in businesses, because those people are going to be paying our salaries, basically. So always respond. Don't leave your followers hanging. Ignoring them leaves them with a sour taste in their mouth regarding your brand. And this also establishes a real connection with that person. One of the examples I like to use a lot is on my birthday, I get a decent amount of people saying happy birthday, and I like and I comment back on every single one of them. And the other example is the next day or at the end of the day when people just say, hey, thanks for the birthday wishes, right? So you have an opportunity to really make an impact with someone by spending a little bit of time just saying thank you. Or you can, at the end of the day, which people aren't going to see, just say, thanks for my birthday wishes. It goes a long way to do those things. And I think, those individual posts will get you further along the line. Yes, it takes time, but it's something that 2 or 3 years ago decided to be very conscious about and really tried doing, and I think it's helped a lot. I also get no work done that day, but it's okay.
You do get indirect work, right? You're building relationships. And that's what your business is all about, building relationships.
Right.
So you come across as a more genuine person because you've been doing that and practicing that skill.
Well, I mean, genuineness is extremely important. If people don't think you're genuine, they're going to figure it out pretty quickly. So if you don't genuinely care, don't do it. But I do, and I'm thankful for people wishing me happy birthday once a year, or anytime someone comments. I think it's important that they're doing what I want them to do. Now it's my turn to engage back and do that, or have us engage back with them. All right, making money from content. So this example is showing you how difficult trying to make a sale on social media can be compared to like a one-on-one or an email, or like a phone call with someone. So we have an event called the State of the Startup Community Address. It's our version of the State of the Union for the local startup community. We've done it once last January. About 150 people attended. On one of the days that we posted information about the event, we posted the exact same thing on 3 different mediums: Twitter, Facebook, and then emailed people the same thing. And each of those had a different link in them, but it took them to the same page, but we were able to track who went to those things. So the social media, 0 conversions. The email, I think we had, let me see what the number was. I don't know if I can put it. The email had a good amount of conversions from that. And so the reason why is because people aren't looking to make sales on those places most of the time. It's not to say there aren't outliers there, but start taking an inventory of your data and how people are using those, how are using your social media, and see if they're really looking for that thing, because they're probably not. So instead, ask your customers what they'd like to see from you. We do this. We have a thing called Ask Catch Questions, where, is there still coffee there? We did it? Cool. Where we just ask, and we have a survey form that people can very quickly answer the question, or they can do it in comments. And when we get those questions, we try to respond within a day, video response of each of them. And basically, we've created a video library FAQ page for these people. But we're answering their questions, so then we can crowdsource the answer, or we can keep those answers out for everyone, so that if other people have that same question, we don't have to re-answer it every single time. We can just say, hey, go to this page. Or if we have our page strong enough on the web, they'll find it anyway because they're searching those certain things. So just with video, make sure your descriptions are good, but then underneath we ask the question who wrote it, so we give them some love as well. So you want to find your champions, find the people that love what you're doing. And you want to talk to them a lot. Because what you'll find is they're going to start bringing a lot of the business to you. In this case, one of our champions is you, right? Some days. Yeah. You're someone that does a lot of talking for us. AJ and Woody, if you guys have ever met Woody at coffee, do a lot of the promotions so we don't even have to do it. And so we've incentivized them in a certain way that says, look, if this happens and this person converts, we're going to give you a fat stack of money too. It's not that fat. But we'll incentivize you to do this as well so that we don't have to be the people doing it. Now you're getting someone else going, wait, so this isn't your company, but you're pitching this company? It goes a lot further. And so find your champions and figure out ways for them to talk you up, but they get something out of it too. So that's a quick recap. You have a question? Any questions? So content, educating, converting, turning your content into sales, gathering emails in exchange for content. So we talked a lot about call to actions. How many of you guys bring people to your site or bring people to an event and try and collect some sort of data from someone, whether it be an email, their name and email, their phone number, a way for you to communicate with them at a later time? Do you guys have those things set up to do that? And what kind of provider are you guys using for those things?
I have MailChimp.
Yep.
However, I'm still trying to do the campaign.
Okay. So in your case, one of the problems that we talked about before with building off someone else's platform is a lot of people are trying to engage with people by collecting emails. So you have Constant Contact, MailChimp, Aweber, all these third-party mass email companies. But it's not super easy for you to build a pretty looking form for them to do that. So a company called Lead Pages comes out that basically creates a drag and drop on the fly form site or page on the site for you to be able to do that. So they said, okay, this is the problem people are solving or needing, and here's this. We're going to make it easier for people, but leveraging MailChimp and Aweber and Fusion Software, whoever these companies are, so that it's easier for you. I'm not a designer, right? But the second I found that site, and it took me 18 months. I don't know what I wasn't searching for, but I mean, I tried learning how to design these things, code these things. Like that site, as soon as I found it, I've never pulled out my credit card quicker. And it's like $40 a month, but it's super easy to get the result that you want. I'll show you guys kind of what it looks like.
You did pull out your credit card quickly.
So I'll send you guys the links that we're talking about today. I'll send you guys this information. But basically, you have a site, and let's say you don't have a designer on staff or a developer on staff that is able to very quickly take the images or the content that you have and is able to, hopefully this loads, in a very kind of theme-oriented version, cater it to your needs. And so usually it's not this slow. But, oops, sorry. But you basically go in, and so this is the page right here. But you can go in and change the words there. You can change the image here, image up there, sign up form. And so it's super easy for then someone to, if you want to sign up, they're going to get something like this pop up. And so that you can then collect their information, and then that will directly go towards whoever you're integrating with. So in this case, MailChimp's up there, and the form It's whatever form that you've wanted to list it to as well. It's super easy to integrate with. It's just great. Now you still have to bring people to there and give them reasons that they want to sign up and everything. But once you figure that piece out, once you get them to do the trigger, this makes it easier for you to collect their information. I think
I'm working on my lead page right now.
And so every step of that kind of conversion is done with them. And it's really cool. All right, so the key to all this, you still have to have awesome contact and what people want. If you don't have that, it's not going to work. Right? You can have the prettiest page, all this stuff, but if you're trying to incentivize people with something that they don't want, you're not going to get them anyway. Or if you're trying to give them content that they don't care about, it's not going to work. And as we talked about all this morning, it's trying to give them what they're already looking for in that.
CTA is
It's call to action. Now, there are ways to give people incentives by not having to really break the bank. You can do it by, if you want this PDF version of this resource guide. So like, let's just say that like you guys are taking the course and maybe the course was free and I wanted someone, a way for me to collect their information. I can say, get this resource guide for free if you do this. And then you get, I think the next page is this. You click here and you're going to get that resource guide for you. That's my incentive for you to have this resource guide. It's like we gave you a lot of the stuff, but now you want this guide to make it even easier for you. And here it is if you just give me this piece of data from you. The reason you want that data from them is that if they're likely to give you that information, you're starting to funnel them down to someone that potentially will turn into a customer. You collect email, it's not an immediate hard sell. Then you start throwing them more content and specific things. Depending on how many people are signing up, you can create campaigns to give them information via the masses, or you can individually pull their emails or contact information, just email them individually as well. A call to action is an instrument, or is an instruction to the audience to provoke an immediate response, usually using an imperative verb such as call now, find out more, visit the store today. Download your free resource guide to growing your email list. Things like that. Define the value in an easily recognizable number or piece of data. What am I really getting out of it? Push immediacy. Example, sign up now, download now, get this now. Make it super easy to understand and implement, relate to the visitor. This is not about you, but how you can help or educate them. They're looking for ways to improve why they're there. And you must collect data from them, email, phone number, etc. You want to give away solid material, but not your arsenal. Some people in this game will say, give away, to grow your email list, you should give away something, right? So I'm going to send people to masses this book if you sign up for my thing. I get 10,000 people to sign up for it, but they're not really my right customer, right? So while that might get you more emails on a list for a later time, they're more likely not to be that exact customer. You want to give them something else that's getting them closer to the piece of information, that premium piece of content, that cost piece to provide them. So be careful when you look at giveaways on things that aren't your own, because you're likely influencing them on someone else's product, not yours. It might bolster the numbers and give you some great results, but is it going to get you what you want? So like this, we've done it. We partnered with Lava, and Lava's a music festival in town. They gave us 8 free tickets. So how are we going to convert that back into people here, right? We're in the business of helping people, yet we partner with something because we think it's a cool thing. we get emails, but how is that going to? So you have to be cautious of that. And pick your end goal and move backwards. Know what you're ultimately trying to sell and cater the words towards that without saying it until the end. Could be coaching, target the audience from previous module, acquire them through signups, and educate with more information and call to actions. So in your case, or at least with Carrie, when the food piece is at certain times a day, or with order up, any kind of food delivery, you would say, here are some 3 specials today. If you want to always get the special signups that we can send you these deals every day. Groupon used to do it all the time. If you want 50% off this thing, we'll send you this email every day. Things like that. Here's one example. So 13 ways to alleviate your body pain. This is one of our companies called High Speed Health. And then so they're going to give you 13 ways to alleviate your body pain. And you can either click one of 2 boxes, either yes, I'm interested, or no. And then they, instead of just not saying no, they say, okay, I'm okay with being in pain. So they try and push that to make it so that someone is going to say yes. Sometimes people, like, I've seen Cox do this where they say something about internet speed. Yes, I want more information on fast internet speeds. And the next box is, no, I like slower download speeds. So you try and get that like emotional piece that, oh, my back hurts, or yes, I want faster internet.
Or shaming marketing.
Shaming?
Yeah.
I don't think you should shame someone, but I mean that's.
Well,
you're really trying
on their emotions that you're making the assumption that they are in pain or they like slow downloads or whatever, forcing them to do the exact opposite. I find that particular example and that style of example, I scroll past them because I don't like them personally.
Sure. Yeah, it's figuring out what works for those people. And yeah, I mean, shaming is a good word for that.
So in my case, do you think it'd be a bad idea? The shaming would be like, no, I'd rather wait 2 days for my document to go to court. Because that's kind of shaming with FedEx and UPS that people are already using them.
If it works, right? So like we're, it's who do you want your identity to be, really? And if you're telling the truth, right? You're giving data and you're just kind of playing with it a little bit. I think as long as you're saying it in like a non really disrespectful way, it's fine. We're trying to. This lady has walked her dog like 5 times faster today. Either that, or there's 5 labradoodles. It really is trying to figure out who your customer is. So some of the things that we're starting to play with is, so we create a course called Steak and Eggs, and the first part is called Get Hungry. We're trying to use food analogies to get people to go through that in the sales and marketing side of things. So it's just trying to play off those certain things. If you could do things off of the word bikes or deliveries, maybe using those words to your advantage or not.
It's possibly your customer on the line. I know for me personally, anytime I see an example of example 1, I scroll past it. It does not stop me on the social media scroll you were talking about earlier.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter, even if I'm interested in the topic, as soon as I see that type of marketing, I skip it. Because that's me personally. I'll never be a customer to something like that. Right. But not everybody's like that. Yeah. Not everybody. Some people are very much stopped by that, and they work to that. Yeah. So it's about knowing what your customer responds to.
And one of the reasons why this course is called No Gimmicks too is because if you're stopping someone that's looking for a get-rich challenge immediately, that's probably not going to happen, right? Yes, there's outliers, and every once in a while when you go through this exact same thing, it could potentially do it very quickly.
Yeah.
But it's like, is that the type of customer you really want too, right? You want someone that's looking to just save time and get things out there quicker. Mm-hmm. And so really trying to work on those words, and you could start figuring out how quick your rides are happening and say, get a delivery done in 18 minutes. If one of your rides is 18 minutes, the majority of them are 2 hours long, you don't want to say 18 minutes because then people expect 18 minutes. Domino's got in a lot of trouble with that, with the 30-minute thing. But use your data to your advantage, but don't only say the outliers, right? Say the normals, because then people will be like, oh, I didn't do this as quickly, or you get screwed on the 30-hour thing. Another example is don't waste a doctor's visit on pain you can relieve today. Box 1 is download the report. This content can also be done via webinars, so you don't have to physically be in a specific place. Webinars are fairly easy to put together. And then you can have a call to action to have people go towards, hey, sign up for this thing in 4 days where I'm going to give you more information. It's a little more personal for people as well. So here's an example of a Facebook post. This wasn't ours. We made this idea up to try to be kind of extreme and show you some things. So a lot of people in line at the DMV was the image that we said would probably stop people because everyone hates being at the DMV, right? When you see people post about this thing, it's terrible. And I haven't been to the DMV in years, and last time it didn't seem that bad. But at a time they did. So AJ, you'll probably like that. Kobe too. What is this?
Iron Man.
Cool. Is it? Is it your
Looks like
favorite?
Iron Man.
All right.
Looks kind of like.
So this is a post. So you say kind of the hook to kind of get back to still on that diamond. Most people don't kind of write like this. Tired of waiting in line for hours at the DMV because you're sitting there. Then give them the link. You can give them the physical link, or you can do a URL tracker to do that as well. There's Google has one, Bitly. They're all pretty much free. And then you want to incentivize them to do something else. So click here to find 20 ways to speed up the process at this specific place. And so your hope is that people will then like it and then comment to their friends to do that as well. Does that kind of make sense, the breakdown? You also need to look at how, when you say too many words, it says read more, and you don't want, just like your subject line for an email, your most important thing to be below a read more. Because you'll miss that information and people aren't going to click the read more piece to do it.
I wouldn't.
And what?
I wouldn't.
Yeah. And so you're kind of sandwiching things into what you want to get that result. So one physical or one example, probably 18 months ago, we had 16 pounds of coffee after the event. And I was trying to find someone to host an event here so they could get rid of it. 16 pounds of coffee is a lot of coffee. It's a lot of coffee. And so I asked all the companies that were in here who wants to host an event. Everyone said no. I'm like, come on, please. Like, you don't want to do this? It's going to be great. Everyone says no. And so I decide to call a couple of friends and say, I got 16 pounds of coffee. We're going to host this meetup every Tuesday from 7:30 to 9. Please come. Tell your friends. That's all we do. No agenda. It's just people coming to drink coffee. So I searched like coffee events on meetup.com and Eventbrite, which are meetup style or gig style websites to encourage people to go to a specific site. And what we found was that there were some certain keywords that people would use in those things, like free parking, free coffee, free conversation. So we started using those kind of words to hopefully get people's appetite moving. And no joke, our original goal, and still probably in some kind of way, was to get rid of that coffee and see what would happen with it. So we had tried coffee events before at other places. We did some where we would just go to other coffee houses and make it hard and We changed locations, changed dates, be the third every 2 Tuesdays. It just never worked. So what we found is consistency is extremely, extremely important. If you want someone to come somewhere on a frequent basis, they need to know that every Tuesday from 7:30 to 9, which is now 8 to 9, that you're going to be there, and use some of the free triggers, or excuse me, use some of the words that would stop them from doing something before. Apparently, free parking is very important for people. And by 9, it's done, right? So at 9 o'clock here on the streets, you have to pay for parking. So we wanted to make it so it's convenient for people between those hours. So we decided to do this for 6 weeks to see what would happen. And like I said, free parking, free coffee, equal with the highest conversions. And we actually haven't changed the text in probably a year. Because it's been doing pretty well. We get, I don't know, 25 to 30 people now, I'd say, every week. And this event is the top of our funnel, right? So we say that if people are coming and finding this event that says, this is kind of a thing for entrepreneurs, it's getting people that might be in that piece towards it. So this data is from December of last year, December of 2014 is when we took it and said, look at it. And so this data is from the first 6 weeks. So the meetups went well, 10 to 15 people came for a week. We invested no money into it because the money was from another event that the coffee was here. We had a 100-cup coffee earn and decided, okay, the first 6 weeks went good. We'll keep doing this until the coffee runs out. Coffee ran out 3 months. We continued doing and said, okay, are we going to continue this or are we not? Making coffee in a 100-cup coffee thing is a pain in the butt because every cup takes a minute. And so if you're making 60 cups of coffee, you have to get there 60 minutes beforehand. So at 7:30 is when we first did this. I'd have to get here by like 6:15 to make it to go. And while I'm here, most days pretty early. For some reason, every Tuesday is just very difficult for me to get up. I think it's like WWE's Monday Night Raw the night before. I'm just up trying to see The Rock do something. I don't know. But so then we decided, okay, we're gonna do this. We're actually physically gonna invest money into it. And so we got this that you guys drink out today, this 12-cup coffee maker, which costs $15 on Amazon. We had to buy filters, and then at the time we were drinking Folgers coffee until we found out that chocolate nuts was roasted and made here in Portsmouth. Found that out because they were on The Apprentice. I don't know if you guys saw that. Now these numbers were, you'll see it's from 5 large Folgers coffees and filters at $15 for a total of $53. And at the time that we ran these numbers, we went with the bottom number of 10 people per. So we've done 32 meetups at 10 people per week. It's 320 total people divided by the $53 is costing us roughly 17 cents a person for this event to put it on. It's not including overhead and things like that, but just the physical infrastructure of that. We were getting in front of people at 17 cents a cup of coffee. I think what's really important about this is you go to Starbucks every week, you're spending yours and someone else's, maybe buying theirs, $7 for the coffees. But the key to that is that you're also wasting an hour of time likely. And so with this, we can now invite people to us instead of having to physically go somewhere else. And it doesn't just have to be one person. You can meet with multiple people, and then being around the surrounding, now they're getting exposed to a lot of different things, and you're kind of, just like we're talking about the game, you're getting people excited to be in a specific program or infrastructure or location. So we're trying to build that excitement around that. And for 17 cents a person, you're not going to get much better. If you can convert someone at 17 cents, it's really good.
Awesome.
Yeah. We've made thousands of dollars from coffee downtown. Probably at the time that we figured out this number, the number was around $2,700. We probably made $40,000 now off of coffee downtown. And so it's the top of the funnel, and we just have to move them down. And so by not selling people, so when people come to coffee, it is very difficult when they're like, oh, so how can I want to do this? Or what program do you have for me? And it's hard for me as a guy that, thinks that, oh, I can make this conversion now, to not make that sale right now. Instead, try and give them the opportunities that are there without making that sale. So inviting them to more an event later that day, sharing with them some content with those things, but not really forcing them to try and make that sale because it's likely not to happen. All right, so we'll spend a couple of minutes. I think this is on your resource guide. 10 call to actions, just text, that you can do for your business. Some ideas for Facebook posts, and potentially webinar or meetup topics as well that you guys would want to bring people to you. You too, Cody. And we will go over these with you guys. So,
Did you get one of these? I got an extra one.
Can you put it back to the page on what CPA is?
Yep.
You can have one of those?
That one? Or
Exactly. Part of the-
This is my Facebook post idea. For an image, I want something with a bike, an image of a document moving quickly to emphasize speed. And the problem was people at law firms having to walk / call UPS or FedEx to deliver something very close. And my link would be the lead page in the Terry Norfolk website. And the incentive is quick, affordable, and reliable. For a CTA, I have, well, in the CTA, that could just be the Facebook post, right? So I just have a little text for it.
okay.
So I got Terry Norfolk will return in the coming weeks as Norfolk's premier document delivery service. Need it delivered as quickly and affordable as possible? Email here at SIP.
So the email is the call to action.
Yeah.
And one thing that I just thought about that for the non-designer friendly folks in the room, there's this site called Canva, CANVA, where it's pretty much free. Occasionally, if you want to buy a specific image or a specific type of font, you have to pay $1 or $2 for it. But it's basically drag and drop image builder online. It's incredible. CANVA.com. It's mostly a desktop cloud-based thing. I don't think they have an actual phone app.
They have an iPad app.
They have an iPad app, but they don't have the iPhone app or Android app. But it's a great tool to do something like that pretty easy when you have a lot of graphics, but maybe don't know how to use Illustrator or Photoshop. Basically, you drag and drop and do those things, and it's what it produces is pretty incredible.
Yeah, it is. Nice.
And it downloads to PNG. They have preset, like, here's your social media sites that you need for a cover photo or an Instagram or Facebook or profile picture. It's a great resource.
Yeah, because I want something just very simple that'll catch someone's eye, like a bike with an envelope and
Yep. And you can do that on your own because you don't have to wait for a designer to figure out those things. There's also solutions like Fiverr.com, if you guys have heard of that. It's Fiverr with a second R at the end. That can be a good one too.
Upwork, I think it's called.
Who?
Upwork. So Elance and Odesk bought a new company, or they were bought by another company.
Okay.
And I think it's called Upwork, so they're moving all of their stuff in to try to get people to think more design-driven jobs.
Gotcha.
What's that called again?
Upworth?
Upwork.
Yeah.
Sounds familiar.
Or you think of Upworthy because it's been on Facebook. That's a different thing. What else? Andrew? No?
I was thinking maybe a good call to action would be a Craigslist post. But then again, I might get too many people at first, at least.
You never know.
And then maybe finding law firms on Facebook and adding them via the Terry Norfolk page. So we can keep in touch that way and build a relationship.
Figure out who those people are too. Kobe, you're up next.
I have a question.
Oh.
what do you do when people start wanting you to deliver food again?
I think I'm gonna make it clear on the Facebook and via meeting that we're not doing food at the moment. I know I expect some backlash when I have posts like, "Oh no, I can't get my lunch delivered." That's not the market that I'm trying to tap into.
In this case, if you do expect that to happen, I'd have kind of a list of things that you think are going to happen and how you want to resolve them beforehand, kind of from a crisis management standpoint. Like, not that it's a crisis, but someone's going to say, well, how am I going to get my beer delivered? How am I going to get my wine delivered? How am I going to just documents? Oh, that sucks. So yeah, well, this is what we have to do right now. And then, say something like, we hope that we can someday add more services to come back.
Yeah, because football season's like 6 weeks away. And
so you can deliver from downtown Norfolk to Hampton for $300. So what do you want? I'll deliver it.
Everything. I want the works. Bud Light, Budweiser.
Where do you live?
I live Buckle Beach in Hampton.
It's a long bike ride.
Yeah, electric bikes over here, man.
Kobe, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm in the midst of a few different ideas right now. So for my Facebook posts and other social medias, I want to use the image of filmmakers going to boardrooms trying to get funding for films. Because one of the things that I've been kind of really seeing is that they all want to make money, but they don't really make money. And they put a lot of work into what they do, whether they're shooting a music video, whether they're shooting short film, web series. They put a lot of effort into it, but they don't really make anything, especially on YouTube. That's like a go-to source.
Right.
So I kind of want to show them like almost getting rejected for funds and say,
show the pain in the picture.
Right, and show the pain in the picture and say, hey, we will support you. Because constantly, like earlier you said something about cats. Well, the top earners on Facebook the top earners on YouTube are always people that either do gaming videos about cats and dogs, or the top earner for this year and last year was a lady that actually sits down in a closet. She really sits in a closet and she puts dresses on dolls, Disney dolls, and tells you how to take them apart. She's earned $5 million already this year. She consistently has the most views on YouTube. And
that's amazing. It's like
and all she does.
Friends.
So her husband actually ratted her out that she was in the closet because he shot a separate video one episode and like opened the door while she was filming, and she was like, "Oh no, my secret's out of the bag." And
that was staged.
Yeah, probably was staged, but still, like she's earning a lot of money. But there's a lot of people that are making really, really good independent films, really good music videos, and they aren't getting anything. So yeah, the whole basis will be around pictures similar to that, like you're getting turned down by someone because your script, they are going to pay for it, or you're not getting any funds from YouTube, come to us. You're not getting any funds here and there, come to us. I look at it as like they're startups themselves. Every time they actually make a new film, that's like a startup.
Good.
Hey, real quick, what's the We Carry hash password?
I love unicorns.
That's right. I was putting in uniforms or legal. I knew it was something with uniforms.
Where do I start?
No.
Great. All right.
Number one. Just you could say what your call to actions are. Maybe an example Facebook post or maybe a webinar topic.
So for Facebook posts, I was going to set my problem is traffic, gas prices, pictures of gas prices going up, and parking problems in the city. Image ideas, anything with an electric bike would be pretty awesome. Like doing a wheelie or carrying a trailer behind it with some stuff in it.
Or passing like traffic
Passing all
that's
the
sitting
traffic.
all.
Yeah, just riding past cars that are stuck in gridlock. my incentive would be a free test ride in downtown Norfolk.
Oh, that's
That
good.
would come through and ride the bike whenever they want to schedule a ride.
You to make that even stronger, tell them at a certain time, like 1 p.m. on a Thursday
Oh yeah.
or something like that. So then you can get a line of people and get that. I like the idea of having people test it, but if you make it open ended, they're never going to come.
Okay.
Right? So, similar to saying, "Oh yeah, I'll buy that when it's out there," and then you build it,
Yeah.
and then they don't buy it. It's trying to actually get that conversion right now. So only we're allowing 5 rides at 1 p.m. on Thursday.
Okay.
You just created
Demand.
a demand
Yeah.
for it.
Make it
Because it's like,
exclusive.
I gotta get there before, I gotta get there before they stop doing it, otherwise I'm not
Okay.
getting there.
Yes, sir.
Have you ever, what if you did something like trying to partner with the city and setting up biking stations where you could ride from one end of the city to the other and pay, and then you have to park at the next biking station and leave the bike there.
Yeah, I mean, as long as the infrastructure of bikes was available to do that, I mean, you'd have to have multiple bikes to do that. Because
That's a
the
big trade right now.
Yeah.
bike share stuff.
Yeah. And you do it on an electric bike, it's green.
Oh yeah. Green, you don't get sweaty either.
Oh, yeah.
Show up in the suit.
People never want to be
I saw one in Boulder before. It was ridiculous. It was like 25 bikes. It was what's it called when the sun creates energy?
Solar.
Solar energy. It was crazy. But yeah, I think you're on the right path. Just really trying to make it so that people have to do something or create that sense of urgency. We're giving away 2 whatever today.
Yeah.
And go from there.
Okay.
I really want to ride that electric skateboard.
You haven't
The electric skateboard.
I haven't.
Man, that thing's scary. That thing is scary. Man.
It looks scary just in the back, even without electricity on it. Any other ones? Or
That was Facebook post. I got a call to action. So schedule a test ride today. Tune in for a live demo tomorrow. Get fitted to your bike. Pick your color scheme now.
those are good.
Build your own dream bike, like where you can put your own accessories, phone chargers, and stuff on. Playing commute with Freedom Bike, so we'll have like a little map where you can plan your ride out, see how fast you get there versus a car, or just check us out.
I think the map one's pretty interesting too.
Yeah.
Some people, craft beer is pretty big now, and people have been making like craft beer maps of the area locally, and those are getting thrown around a lot. So things like that, like here's basically gamifying it,
Yeah.
is something that could get people excited.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was literally, if you were talking, I was sitting here going,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you have that bike trail from I guess it's from Shore Drive or Chicks Beach over to, I guess, the actual entire oceanfront area, right?
Yeah.
Because it's street and then trail.
Yeah, but I'm down in Punga, so
That's right.
From Punga
That's right.
to it's like 15 miles.
You can do that without Really? Yeah. If you pedal with it, you got to reach about 35.
Not for you. Not for you. Yoey, not you. And not me either. It's our certain weight class.
There's always more batteries.
I
It's
hear
always
you.
more better.
I hear you, man.
There's always more batteries.
I hear you. That's all it is.
Yeah.
The way batteries are getting now, they're getting smaller.
There you go. Well, it's just 4 drone batteries, right? So.
Yep. I actually just made a Tesla Powerwall in my car, like a little tiny suitcase full of old lithium batteries that I'm using to power like a mini fridge and microwave. Yeah.
Wow. Any other ones?
Webinar topics. What's the future of transportation? Are our cars killing us? Health benefits of staying active, getting to work on time, getting around traffic. The only solution is rush hour, and transportation you can take anywhere. Any of those, I guess. Play with those, I guess.
Those are good. So kind of the eco-friendly style, play with that.
Mm-hmm. That and staying active, because certain people are worried about going to their office job, sitting in the car all day, never actually working out or getting outside. So that will help with that too. And I don't think I'm much further than that.
That's good. Good work. Best one so far.
Yeah, it was good.
Way to go, Kobe. You're in third place. 3. Okay, Mike.
All right, so I haven't done my Facebook yet, but the call to actions, get an ROI calculator for an LED retrofit. It's one of the challenges people really struggle with is
Yeah.
how to figure out what the actual savings is. The importance of, paper on the importance of data analytics and energy management. Learn the benefits of light spectrum on education. When I say education, on learning. Get a free energy analysis, estimate savings for your franchise. What is the Internet of Things and how does it benefit your bottom line? Why energy efficiency goes beyond saving money. These are papers that they could download if they give me information. Top risks of today's infrastructure for your business. I was thinking maybe one that could we have a cool picture of a tree and a light bulb on our website.
Yep.
Maybe get a free plant with that tree, if they sign up. And free guidance on integrating Julex into your environment. Julex is a Cisco energy product.
The calculator seems really interesting. It seems like a lot of people would want that. A lot of people would probably be searching just for that. And then basically creating different layers upon that, so you can do, did you guys have that already, or is that something you guys would have to develop?
Yeah.
I mean, I think to me, it's, we have friends that are in like natural gas. They're like, oh, you should do natural gas. Problem is it costs $25,000 up front. So it's expensive up front, but then the long tail is really nice.
Right.
Probably some of yours. So it's like figuring, how do you figure out that process? And so I think that one is something that a lot of people are thinking about. And I think a lot of people want to make that decision, but it's figuring out what that cost is and making that very easy for people to get that, put that on the homepage, have a post around that. I think that's really strong. Because if overall I'm going to have something in 5 years, I'm going to be saving, I'm not going to be basically spending any money because compared to where I was,
Oh yeah.
it's that play, and it's just hard for people to figure that out on the fly.
Yeah, and the payback has gotten so low. One of the big obstacles that LED faces today is, people still think of it as very expensive.
Sure.
But the payback has gotten down to, in some cases, a year.
Think about every TV now has that energy. How much is it going to cost you a year?
Yeah.
Right. So you get a new TV. It says it's going to cost you $12 a year. Wow. I guess before that used to be a lot of money, or not the $12, but I guess those things used to cost you a lot of money. And so something maybe like that too could be a benefit. I'm all about copying other models that work, right? So like gym memberships have pretty much figured out that model. How do you get people to pay you a monthly fee and only 20% of them actually use the service? And so, we're a gym membership for businesses, using things like that. And the TV thing on that could be interesting too, to see how the energy efficient, kind of their call to actions on those stickers, what some of the words are on there. I would look at those as well.
Yeah.
And see kind of what people are searching for.
So webinar topics, what is energy independence, how to maximize government incentives of energy planning.
That's a good one.
Useful procurement tools for realizing long-term returns, the basics of an IP network and how to integrate your energy management, how to integrate LED solutions into your environment.
Those are good. And what's great about this is you could also, let's say you do the video webinar, you then could take the script and turn it into a white paper or a blog post too.
Yeah.
And kind of just keep circling it around over and over again. That's, just use the medium for what it's for, but then convert it to these other things as well to get that kind of information out there. Yep.
I only got a few. CTAs, I can use more information. I want to be empowered today. Download the free Affordable Care Act presentation.
So I think you're too vague,
Yeah.
right? So I want more what and why.
So
Right,
CTAs, I really got to ponder this at the house. I really do.
So you did that one video, and it was like the 5 things for.
The five common tax mistakes.
Download the report now.
Okay.
So that whole thing, right? So
Yeah.
you're giving to make it clear as to what they're getting and what the result is going to be. You know, yeah, I want to be empowered, sure, but what do I want to be empowered on, right? It's because you want it to be. The reason you do that is someone might say yes, but you're trying to waste less of your time to figure out who at each point of a funnel is really interested in working with you. And so if you're too vague and just saying empower me or try this thing and not towards the specific target, you're likely to waste your time. Don't do that.
Basically, tell them exactly what they're going to get.
Right.
Okay.
If you have that, if you can have a real tangible number around it,
Okay.
you know.
Well, as for a webinar, intro to small business accounting.
Yep.
That is a setup for the actual small business accounting course.
Right. So think about a couple of topics under that, like what people would want. Maybe just the 5 common mistakes. And then what you're going to find is those are actually your headlines. Those are kind of that piece to the diamond that we were talking about that people really want. Because that's also what people are searching for.
I tell you, the other one that would be really good is like 5 accounting risks that will put you out of business.
Yeah.
The horror stories from accounting mistakes in small businesses or
People probably want to know about what type of business to form, LLC, C corp, all those things.
Yeah, that's the one I've been working on.
Partners, something with partners, how partners can screw you.
Yeah. You know, partnerships are awesome, but they can be also the word problem.
Yeah, problem areas in a partnership, what you need to know.
Things that people are going to be searching for. And that's, whenever people come in here and say, oh, I'm looking for a co-founder, I'm like, you be very careful as what you're looking for, because you're just going to find a co-founder and then go into a business with them. Like, I've seen both ways, and it's very.
Yeah, I think
scary.
that one tutorial I've been working on is the business entities and their tax implications.
Yep.
Because I know that information would be so vast, I wanted to break it up into 5.
So here's another way to get content out quicker. Shoot a video and just off the top of your head, so get the topic that you want to do. Don't freak out about the words that you have to write. Just get in front of the camera and start saying what you would tell someone else. Or start recording your conversations with people that are asking those questions, and then convert that to text. Go on Odesk and ask someone to convert the video to whatever. Mechanical Turk is like 13 cents a minute to do some of these things. Google, if you do it on YouTube, they'll actually transcribe it pretty well too. Or hire an intern to kind of transcribe those things so that you then have the written side of it too. Don't focus. Just sometimes it's easier to say something than write it out. So just say it and use that as your medium and do that. But I think you have really good information. You just don't overthink the call to action side of it.
Yeah.
What are you going to get people? And just tell them, I'm going to give you 5 tips to not break the bank during accounting season.
Yeah. Because in all honesty, you're right though. There's certain things, especially in terms of taxation, that can just destroy you.
Yep.
People need to know this information.
Absolutely. Everyone needs an accountant every year. All right, Team SMD.
I'll start with the webinar and a few of those. What are game mechanics and why are they important for designing games?
So you're targeting other designers.
Yeah.
Okay.
The next one is what are game dynamics and why, and why do they affect your play style? That affects both the gamers and the designers.
Okay.
And the third one is what are game aesthetics and why are they fun?
Okay.
And then, how do we design a character concept from scratch? Another one is how we found X local gaming groups to hang out with and try new games.
So from the design perspective, the third and fourth one, I think, are you going to show a lot of case studies and images? Do that? How do you guys see those? I think they're nice topics, but I think they need to be very visually appealing,
Right.
And show kind of that process of how.
Well, for each of those, it's in game design. There's a leading theory, MDA, mechanics, dynamics, aesthetics. Each one plays a part in why you design a game. You design a game to have certain aesthetics. Aesthetics aren't the look and feel of it; they're the fun people get out of it. So everyone likes to have a different style of fun.
Gotcha.
I like to have strategy. I'm very big on strategy, very big on turn-based, being able to think about my things. Other people are more action-oriented or more story-driven.
Gotcha.
So those are the mechanics.
Gotcha.
And the dynamics is all gameplay that comes out of putting the mechanics and the aesthetics together. It's the play of the game.
That's interesting.
So it's taking that theoretical concept and applying it to each piece. I've seen several articles like this already where someone's taken their aesthetics and they've rated them out on a 1 to 10 scale. So it's just how you do that.
How do those articles convert? Are they viewed a lot?
I don't know.
If you could try and backtrack and see like if they're shared a lot. That's another thing too. Like when you're looking at content to see how it's how viral it goes, I guess.
Mhm.
See if it's getting so search your topic, take the first 5 things that come up, and see if a lot of people are sharing that information. If you're finding it in different places and people are liking it, to see if that's a topic that you just found and it just happens to score well on SEO because it does all those things, or is it something that actually is very popular? So you can look at like the share buttons in the post. Does it get a lot of comments? Are you take some of the words from the headline, see if it comes up in other places, see if you can follow back on maybe a Facebook post to it, to see how engaging it is, to see if that's a topic that actually it's trying to like hack the system. Say, okay, is this the right path to go? Is the mechanics something that people are interested in? Before you spend 40 hours developing a piece of content like that, or something like that, I think would take a while, and see how it kind of did.
Right.
Yeah. That doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. If it doesn't have a lot, it could mean that people are looking for that. They just haven't found it yet. Too.
You could be underserved.
Right.
But you just don't know until you do a little.
Right.
Do a little bit.
And sometimes I think certain keywords are very difficult to win because you got things that are from like 2007 that are just crushing the internet, and it's going to be difficult to beat that. So you try and leverage that and use it as a case study in something.
Right.
So.
I have for the webinar topics, trying a new game, how different people try new games. You've got new gamers, you've got veteran gamers, you've got people who are in the middle.
That's cool.
How to introduce new games to your friends. Things that, if you've got a particular type of game that none of your friends ever played, how do you go about introducing them? You invite them over and you say, hey, come over for food, and trick them into it, or however you.
But that's similar to the meetup one that you said, right? How do you find local gamers to do that, right? That could be maybe a piece to that, the overall, and then that's kind of like one of the strategies to introduce.
Places to go to try new games. That's more of a local thing as far as it goes. But that's definitely something we could work with as well. There are some different gaming places, where some different meetup places.
And that was one of the call to actions I had was want to try new games. Download this guide to find local gaming groups and get your game.
Okay.
So,
And well, that's top of my head. So if there's a topic that's hard to win, the way that you would do a case study is kind of have just as one of those things for like the meetups. You would just there's a series of different pieces to an article, and it would just be one of those things. And you just link back to that. You're going to get better SEO because you're linked to a popular post that can help you increase
Okay.
to do that.
Makes sense. What kind of gamer are you? That might be kind of a silly one to go with, you know, different kinds of people, and then introduce some different games. Yeah, exactly.
What's like, have you seen like where you fill out a series of 6 questions and they give you the answer, similar to the calculator, with you, Mike, if you can give someone something that they can actually press.
What kind of Game of Thrones character are you?
Right.
Or whatever.
One site that I just found out or signed up for recently is called Club W. It's a wine of the month club thing, but the process that they take you through, it's 6 questions to try and figure out your palate. They ask you questions that have nothing to do with wine, but then tell you, this is what I think you are. So the first question is, how do you like your coffee? Second question is, how wild are you? Right? Do you like berries? And so, and at the end of it, they say, this is what we think your palate is. And then the call to action is, well, if you sign up for this thing now, and they make you do it. They try and invest you through these 6 questions. It's just interesting to kind of ways to do that.
I thought along with that, you'd say, yeah, what these are the kind of games you might like to try.
Right. Right.
Like the tie into the aesthetics piece.
Sure.
Because people generally know what type of games they like to play.
Right.
You know, and so if you kind of put a label to that and then point out to them, here are other games that fit that.
Well, then you know your target customer too, right?
Right.
I like to play sport games, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't like to play like World of Warcraft, or as that was called.
Yeah.
I don't like to play the strategy games, right? But I might like to play like a racing game. So you're just trying to figure out. I don't play a lot of games, but
yeah.
It's important to find out those people so you're not wasting time targeting someone that's just gaming,
Right.
Gaming plus all this other data as well.
Introduction to upcoming games. That's the Kickstarter thing. That's an information thing. Here's some games that are coming up that we put a touched our radar once in a while we're supporting, or whatever the case may be. You might be interested in them too. That's kind of it's furthering your fellow gamers as far as that goes. It's creating a community of sorts, or to extend a community kind of thing. It's something to look at.
It just gave me an idea. Like a routine post for us. New games released on Kickstarter this week.
That's good.
Do a Kickstarter every week.
So we do a weekly event calendar, so it's kind of similar to that. It's how can you get people to see your events or see, keep Hatch coming in your mind. And so once a week we send out an email to people that signed up. It says, here are the events in the region that are around entrepreneurship and innovation, right? And so, and we only pick a couple, and certain events we won't allow. So like we don't put networking events on there. Because there's a ton of those things. And so because we give kind of the curated list of a few things, that could be, the curated list of this week's Kickstarter stuff. And maybe there's not enough games every week. On Kickstarter, you do the monthly guide, but basically you're just trying to get people top of mind to be thinking about you. That's what you're trying to do. Those are really good.
Have you guys ever thought of Steam Greenlight?
We're not doing a video game.
No. Well, I know it doesn't have anything to do with like money or donations like Kickstarter, but Steam Greenlight, I think they like actually fund the game if it gets enough thumbs up, and then they like feature it on their website for like a whole month or something.
It's for when you're doing a video game, if you want to get it actually be sold on Steam as the distributor, you have to go through the Greenlight process. What it used to be is Steam would just take any game because they're just an electronic distributor, but they've become so popular and now the Greenlight process because it can't take everybody. It just jams up their funnel. So they have that process, but it's for video games.
So
And we're doing right now. We're a table company.
okay.
So.
All right. I just thought
Yeah.
it was out there.
The rest of them have, or I have like 2 others. It's as soon as I figured this out myself, how to gather creative types that you want to hire. And when I figured that out, maybe I'll do it.
Well, that was one of the first things that
those 2 figured it out.
that was, what did you say? how to contact people. So
Yeah.
that's a trend that's coming up.
So
So
yeah, maybe I should put that as a, quickly through that. local thing.
I'm sure a lot of people looking for that.
That could help you engage with your audience. How many other artists are out there that don't have the
Canva.
breakout for the system?
Right.
And so you can maybe find sympathetic readers. Maybe some of them convert also into.
Yeah, maybe if I tag that part with me, pick me, so maybe.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
What I've been thinking about and absorbing as you talk through it, as all of you communicate, what I am struggling with is my target audience for public relations counsel is typically the CEO, the CFO, or the chief communications officer, or human resource officer of any size company. And my experience, as I've talked with each of those constituencies, they're not on social media. They're not tracking Facebook. They're not even LinkedIn to a lot of degrees. They're there. They may have a presence there, but they're not.
You'd be surprised. You'd be very surprised. I deal with a lot of CEOs who are very active on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Maybe not Facebook so much, although my best friend, that we started that did ADS and Mythics, he's pretty damn successful and he's on Facebook nonstop.
And then the extra problem I have is what I'm offering is almost private counseling behind the scenes, out of public view. So if I think of a webinar or a blog, for example, on how you can generate a page one news story in the Virginia pilot that is favorable to your product or service,
Right.
it's very, it's not something I can genericize and speak.
Sure.
It has to be unique and focused. So what my takeaway has been, as I've been listening to this, is instead of broadcast messages, websites, social media, how do I narrowcast? How do I get into groups that groups of CEOs or groups of HR officers who might want to learn to hear my authoritative voice around how to make employees more productive, or the 5 things that employees might need to know to have a better work day.
Right. We don't want to give up your special sauce,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Absolutely. And when there are certain things, you don't want to do that because that's the premium piece of content that someone is going to physically hire you for. But what you don't want to do is not have a presence so that people can't find you.
Yes.
Right? And so, sorry. Yes, if there's a certain
I
way.
still need a public presence.
Right.
But I haven't figured out how to not give away the story.
And maybe it has nothing to do with crisis management at all, right? Maybe it's just best practices for CEOs or the people that you want to get around through the things that you've seen, right? So we've been very good at getting publications, right? We know those tricks. We won't tell everyone but we'll tell kind of the general stuff, like go meet a reporter, right? You can't expect that reporter to write for you if they don't know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
But there's some other ways. There are some tips and tricks on ways to get press and then do those things. And we should tell everyone that because that's what makes us special, right? And so, but there's a cost to that. So we would be willing to tell some people if we could turn that into a sale. So I wouldn't worry so much about the secret sauce, but instead getting in front of those people so that when they do need you, they know that you are that guy or that your company is that thing to do those things. Yeah. And so figure out what those CEOs are looking for from a productivity standpoint. Maybe it's 5 ways that you can be more productive with your team today, or Tim Ferriss has made a ton of money off the 4-hour work week, right? And so maybe it's if that's who you want to talk to, that's who your end client is. Find the things that they're looking for, and then create relationships with them to then upsell your special sauce.
I tell you the one thing that as a guy who was running a company, just last year, that I would have really reached out to somebody like you for is I knew what I wanted out of the company, and our executive team wanted out of the company, and where we were trying to take it, and what the messaging was, and I could go preach that messaging all day long. I didn't need your help for that. What I did need your help for was getting all my employees to understand what those key messaging points were and how to reflect that out in the field. Very difficult to do.
It's an idea that I was thinking about. Just to show, get your face out there, your name out there. Take a real life event that happened to a specific person. Maybe a very high influential person, something had happened to them, and you say, here's some things that I would have done if I was their PR person to help them along that. And so that people be like, oh, okay, this individual knows what he's talking about. Hey, maybe I want to reach out to him. And you can look at anybody, like say like Kanye West, his persona is very negative, but if we have something very positive, things that people typically gravitate to.
Like what he could have told Donald Trump a week ago.
Yeah, something.
Or today.
Maybe that is a way that you do play with it, right? You do case studies on real life situations right now on what they did wrong and 3 ways that they could have done better without telling your special sauce, but telling ways to not have that effect. You're showing the effect of those things.
And along with that, because sometimes if you tell them what they should do, sometimes giving the explanation as to why. Sometimes people go, if you just say, we'll do this, this, and this, and they'll go, well, why would I do that? What is the importance of what you just told me? Sometimes people they need to be convinced.
The one challenge that you would have with using real life explanations is they're only hot for so long. So you try and create some people call evergreen content, which will last for years. The problem is the Donald Trump presidency thing isn't always going to be searched. It could be hot right now. The Kanye West thing too, they'll be hot for a little bit, but you have to try and find ways to do other things as well so that you don't get so lost on those things. But they can definitely get you some traffic.
Yeah, but that would also, I'm making a big assumption on this, that in crisis management, that's generally how it tends to be anyway. So showing that you can respond to a short-lived scenario and how you would do it, that would affect a certain type of traffic that you're actually looking for, as well as that you need the evergreen traffic too to show you that. But you need to be able to think quickly on your feet and respond to stuff like that.
And the goal is to create myself as an authority on any topic or any crises, and thus get a call in or a way to build a contact.
Because no one knows you, right?
I think you could really use these short-lived 24-hour news cycle events to your benefit. You troll the news, you see what's coming up, write a quick response. Hey, this is how I do it. 3 things how I would have done this differently. Spit it out in a day.
Yeah.
People will pick up on that, and hopefully you insert yourself into that news cycle.
For example, in public relations, we have a trade association, Public Relations Society of America.
Right.
It's a private network where you can have, here's what I would have advised, or what I would advise Donald Trump to be doing today. But I often questioned whether that is the best way to get into the door of a potential client, rather than just entertain that potential client with something titillating or fun to read.
Test it.
I think it may be a matter of a little bit of both. You get that, so you get your name known, you get the little familiarity there, and then you have other, like Zach said, more long evergreen content that people can read and see there's substance behind the humor.
All right. Great job on the homework.
Mhm.
All right, revenue models. So figure out what you're going to sell and then go backwards. The method in which you're going to sell it, price it. Just pick a number. I literally think that so many companies focus so much on what should I charge this instead of just picking a number out of thin air and seeing what happens.
Always discount.
You can always change it. Don't freak out on this so much that you don't know, right? Then work backwards and figure out if it was too much or whatnot. It's just so many people freak out about this pricing. Obviously, you don't want to screw yourself so that you can't make money, but try and at least make it so that you get at cost. There's some ways and some strategies as well to make sure that you at least break even. From an app development consultancy standpoint, I'm going to do a project. You find the people that you want, present the solution, and you say, "Is it going to cost $9,000?" Right? And your deposit is $3,000, which is actually what's going to cost me to develop it. And then and so maybe break it into 3 payments, and then your next 2 payments are all profit. So you get a deposit, which is non-refundable, so that you make sure that you don't lose money. And then as you develop, you're profiting on the entire thing, as long as you develop it in the way that you're expected to. So don't freak out about a number. Pick a number. Look at what other people in the market are doing, right? If most games are $50, make your game $50, right? $49.99, sure. Make it so that someone's not saying 50, they see $49.99, whatever. But and you don't need to charge $300 an hour just to charge $300 an hour. If $100 an hour can get it, and you can get more customers that way, then just pick a number and go with it. One of our most successful companies is charging $75 an hour, and they're doing very, very, very well. And most people in their industry are charging $125 to $200 an hour for that type of work. Yet they're doing far more consistent work than other people at those higher rates. So sometimes being lower too can get you more consistent rates. There's also some ways to discount for the amount of work that you do. So if someone can guarantee 100 hours of work, maybe you can discount on 10% of that money because you're happy to get that. Or so there's ways to do that. So the key to this is don't forget about the money. Pick a number, go with it, track it, and see what happens. If people keep telling you it's too expensive, then you need to know that you can go back. If people are saying, "Well, I would have paid this for this," or "Oh man, I think I'm getting like 3 times the amount of value for that." So you're charging 30, but you feel the value is 90. Maybe you increase the price, right? The last thing you want to do is, but then you grandfather those people in depending on the service, if it's a service company as well.
So here's my question. So if you are charging $30 an hour and it should be worth $60 an hour, how do you go back and talk to the person that you originally started at $30 an hour?
Yeah,
Or you don't, or
there's a couple of ways. Depending on how long the project is, you either just eat the cost, right? You can give them. So Eric, I know, has done this. You give them kind of a grace period and say, "Look, this is now what my industry rate is, and I'm letting you guys know that this is where you've been here. I'd like to get to here, but it's hard for me to do it. Just have a conversation with them." It depends on how ongoing the project is, really.
There's lots of different ways to have that conversation. But the hardest part for most people, I think, is starting. But most people are people. And so
inflation happens, right? Gas prices go up. We can't undervalue ourselves because we're afraid not to have that conversation. And so if you can make it a way, so just like a football contract, so that you know that every year is a new contract's going to happen, that's one way to do it on the upfront. The more you can do upfront to make that there, make it better. So instead of thinking that forever I'm going to get you at $30 an hour, instead of saying, well, every year I'm going to give you this rate. And next year, 3 months before, I'm going to tell you what that new rate's going to be. And you just kind of play like that. I mean, football players do it all the time. Athletes do it. Your value, I mean, inflation just in general is going up. So you have to, the company has to grow with that, and you can't stick on someone for no reason.
So if you start out your relationship with another person or another business at the beginning, saying, you know, that the change, this is what the price is right now. I'd like to work, you know, work at this price for so long,
Right.
and I'd like
It's
to
many hours.
reevaluate.
Right.
Right.
So actually, a great example is we're talking with a couple potential partners, and usually that is a monthly fee for a year long period. And one of the companies that we started talking with, I gave them a rate, and I said, look, I will grandfather you for 3 years at this rate, but just so you know, so one of the ways I'm trying to get them to convert quicker is I'm saying, I'm already telling this other person 3 times the amount of money, but I'm guaranteeing 3 years worth of money up front. It's kind of how I'm getting it. But that rate is changing already, and it changed within a month between 2 potential partners. Similar industries, but it's just, that's the money, and things are going to change. And as your exposure grows, you should be able to financially benefit off of that. If you're the best at you do in the world, you shouldn't be getting paid like a minor league player, and you don't see that. So you have to build those things in place so that you can do that. And don't be afraid to tell a customer, look, I at one point was worth $50 an hour. I'm now worth $100 an hour. I'd like to get closer to that. Can we meet halfway? I like the work that you're doing. You know, there's a lot of ways to have that conversation. So, any other questions about that? We talk a lot about this here at Hatch. Is the more communication you can have with people, the more likely you are to get the result that you want to. All right, so we talked a little bit about funnels. For us, the majority of our interactions to convert take 5 to 7 times of communication to actually physically make a sale. And so typically it's some sort of free content. Then we ask them to sign up for something, ask that data piece. We provide them with more content. Likely we add some piece of some barrier to make it even more difficult. So another call to action. So that could be like setting up a physical meeting, like consultation, something like that. In your case, it would be getting them to actually come to ride the bike, right? That like make this really difficult for someone to do because they physically go there. So if you're selling cars, getting someone to step on side at the dealership, if you're there, you're likely going to get that. If you get a realtor, you're likely to buy a house if you can do it. Make that barrier to entry pretty difficult so that you know how serious that person is. Then give them more information and then hard sell them somewhere between 5 and 7 times is what we've seen typically works. Sometimes it's a lot easier, sometimes it's a lot harder. Yehoshua here, about 2-year rule, right? Just because someone doesn't hit between 5 and 7 or whatever your funnel you figure out is, doesn't mean that they don't want it, don't value, can't be something there. Just means you might not have to communicate with them as much to get them there. Does that make sense? So in our case, just because it's easy to say, is our funnel looks something like Coffee Downtown. Then we give them some sort of content. Then we give them startup night. Maybe the paid version is Start Norfolk, which is a build a company weekend competition. And our ultimate goal for them is our premium thing is 1,004, which is similar to a monthly gym membership of $30 a month. So that's kind of how one of our funnels looks like. Carrie Norfolk. So they hand out a piece of paper to someone that wants food and says, hey, here's this. Sometimes we do popsicles. So it's like, here's some, do you have any popsicles with us? So here's a popsicle, it's a hot day, and here's some sort of flyer that says, did you know you get these things delivered? Then they go online, or we invite them to the site, show them videos of delivering, and then the goal is for them to get the email with a hard sell to the website to buy something like, here are the 3 deals today that you can get on Karen Norfolk. You'll see that for like Old Navy $2 shirts today, things like that. So, this would be similar to what you're doing. So your premium content is the end sale. So you're selling a course. You provide a ton of information to them, and then you've basically become the authority in your space for that. And then because they've been getting all this value from you, then they feel like once you do sell them hard, you give them a premium course to do that. So you're going to give them a boatload of free content, and at some point you're going to say, here's this course, do this. All right, putting it all together. Sales methods, I think I show 4 here. Types of transactions that can be made. E-commerce, very hot right now. Any transaction that takes place over the internet. Key advantages, typically lower cost, more lean global market. You don't have to sell in one physical place. Disadvantages, no personal touch. There's ways to change that by interacting with people virtually, but it's not the same conversation like this. And some people still want that. For some people, it's the Kindle versus the physical book. And some people still want that. I hate reading on a Kindle. I own 2 Kindles, or one iPad and 1 Kindle. I still like the physical book. But interestingly, I like to read articles more online than I do like the newspaper. So it kind of flip-flops for me. Just be aware of those things. Some people on e-commerce are still like this, paranoid of scammers. And am I getting this? We had this conversation with George recently. Does having this little icon mean that I'm going to buy this or not? 30-day guarantees, things like that kind of change people's minds to that. And then can I experience a product before purchase? A lot of people freak out about that as well. But that is changing with reviews, ratings, etc. Then we have like your physical retail. That would be a restaurant or a bookstore, just a simple cigar shop. Key advantages, people can interact with the products. They can physically test it out. You can personally educate people in real time. And you can create a more personal connection with customers. Disadvantages, obviously overhead is you want it to be prettier, so there's going to be more costs associated with that. The time constrictions, so typically there's an hour, only certain hours a day, something is physically going to be opened. So that is a time constriction. And usually you're limited to a local market when you have a brick and mortar piece. And obviously a lot of retailers have moved online because of that as well, and do both. Your consulting, typically hourly or project-based pricing. Key advantages, you name your own price. Establish authority stats and always take on new challenges and projects because you're kind of doing one-offs. Disadvantages, you cannot sell yourself. If you cannot sell yourself, it's a huge challenge. Potentially have to work a lot. And job security, you're always looking for that next job. And then subscription-based could be brick and mortar or online. Convenience for a consumer. So sometimes people might not have $300 to spend on something at one time, but $30 a month, they can do it, recurring and do it. Gym membership is a great example to say here. How many people here have a gym membership? And okay, and did you guys go more than twice a week?
Like it?
What? No, you don't. You're a good guy.
I'm working on it.
So all 3 of us are spending probably at least $100 a month total, and we don't use the product yet. It continues to get debited out of our account every single month. And a lot of companies are doing this. Insurance, the lead pages thing I was telling you. That's just a model where people think that it's something good, and they continue to tap that money out every month. It's an easier way to sell someone a smaller price for the same product for a longer period of time. Amazon Prime is a great example too, of how they do that every year to get people to buy more stuff from them. Customer retention is typically higher. Key disadvantages, it can be complex for people to understand what they're getting, and customer service will need to be top notch for these things because you want to keep them for a long period of time. Because usually people don't make money until a certain year mark for these people. They pay a certain amount of money to acquire them, usually year 1 or 2. So like at a gym, you would have to, it probably costs them a decent amount of money to get you in there, and they're hoping that you'll be there for 5 years or that. A couple ways to sell. You're not a shopping mall, stop thinking you are. Don't expect people to be in the sales mindset unless you've like literally told the person we're going to have a sales meeting. But most people from when they have first interactions with people, they're not selling anyway. So it's an education process, even in their day-to-day meetings with these people. Actively educate them on your business and guide them to a sale. Find the trigger points that they're using, and then use those words against them, basically, or to get them to pull the trigger, if you will. And one thing with our funnel that we said earlier, we'd even say it's 5 to 7 positive interactions. Positive interactions. So you get that person, they meet you, hopefully it goes well. If the first interaction they have with you is terrible, it takes at least 5 to get 5 positive interactions to get back to 1 positive interaction. So typically it takes 5 to 7 positive experiences with someone to get them, for us, to convert to what we want them to do. And even then, if they're not ready immediately, plant the seeds for future opportunities. Because sometimes what will happen is people might not be the right fit for you, but they have a ton of friends and a huge network that you can take advantage of. Customer profile case studies, we're wrapping up, almost done. I think there's 4 on here. The desperate buyer, I'm going to spend money on you right now. Very unlikely to find that person, except in your case. They want to buy now at virtually any price possible. The easiest sale you'll ever make. The referral buyer is great. This is a lot of things that you guys should focus on is people talking about you. I do think that'll be good for you too. Let's find this. You'll find that. Also with you, Mike, because you're going to have those people who you do that one job for, and then you can say, who else do you know? And then maybe your referral can be an incentive saying, for your next year, I can give you this kind of pricing. A lot of people talk about, well, how do I discount someone, or how do I get in the door? Do I do pro bono work? Do I do those things? Sure, whatever works. What I typically say is, if you're going to do work at a discount, make it very clear why you're giving that discount, and make it very clear how they can repay you. Because let's just say it's a $10,000 job, you're going to do it for 75% off. Why are you giving that person 75% off? Not just because they're a nonprofit or those other things. What can they give you? The reason you want to be very cautious in doing this kind of work is, well, hey, this is great work. How much did it cost? $2,500. You got $10,000 worth of work, but they just told you 25% or the 25% rule, because people will start telling their friends the wrong number, and you have to make it very clear that this is the number of what it costs. It costs $10,000, because then people come to you, and while you gave them a discounted rate because you thought you could get something bigger out of them, they're telling people that wrong number, and you get screwed out of it. So if you're going to discount, no matter who, or if you're going to do pro bono work, make it very clear what you're giving, what they can give to you, and in some cases, make it so that if they don't do that, they have to then give you back that 75% off throughout time. Just make it very clear in those kind of cases, so that if it can move you up that kind of authority status by doing some of those things, absolutely do it. But make it so that people understand what they're getting and what value they can give you too. It's the same thing with a co-founder. You're an engineer and you got a marketing guy. Well, maybe your engineer isn't as good, but you bet on them, and 50% of the time, and vice versa, you think that the engineer is looking for the marketing guy isn't hustling as much as you thought, and your product doesn't get there, but he has 50% of the company, right? And so you're trying to really you're trying to predict opportunities that can come that normally wouldn't. Mail lady, she's like, "Why are you here? It's Saturday." she literally blew it. So a referral, so someone's going to go to their friend and say, "I'm looking for this person. Do you know a crisis management person? Do you know someone that can do this?" Make the handoff. There's ways that you can incentivize those people to do this too. So I said this earlier, for those people in 1004 that refer other people, if we get them to buy the annual membership, they get a cut of 33% of that. So they get $100 to do that. Ironically, it hasn't happened that much for that specific program. Sometimes people have development work, they come to me and do it, and I say, "Here, go to this person," and the person who I give it to, they might give me 5 to 25% of the deal for that referral fee. Incentivizing people allows people to kind of push for you at the same time. You all right, Kobe?
Oh yeah.
And this can happen at the B2B level as well. Lead pages is a great example of that, and I'll send you guys a link to that. Then there's the window shopper, which is likely the person visiting your site, or the person walking down the street right now. They're not necessarily ready, but what can you offer them to, learn more about you? Free content, email address, plant the seed. The window shopper is someone that could turn into a customer. So early sales, the number one validator of how much people really want your solution to the problem is money, right? Someone might say that they love your product. A lot of people test out the game, they say they love the product. Then when you present to them the opportunity to buy it because it's ready, they don't buy it. So the number one way to validate that is through sales. Kickstarter has been really good with that, crowdfunding, doing things like that. Why do early sales? Likely you can bootstrap your own company, at least to begin. No outside investors to own 100% of it, and no waste of time. So you're basically presenting all this information that you gained and said, "Here's what I'm looking at doing. I'm going to discount you because you're an early adopter and see what you can get out of that." If no one decides to buy, you either have done a terrible job of marketing it or no one wants it. And so the idea of if no one wants it, you move on to the next idea and try again. And I think I show a couple of examples of this. Sales obviously is huge. I think a lot of us entrepreneurs are very good at something specific, but not necessarily sales. And so if we don't make sales as a business, we're just a hobby, or we don't have a business. And so we have to make sales a piece to it, but we don't have to be that used car salesman to get people to do what we want. And back to kind of like the money piece. There's a ton of online payment processors. Don't worry about which one you use for the rest of your life. Just pick one and go with it. Just like pricing, it's $100. Cool, go with it. Don't worry about those things. Do you need a full-fledged proposal? Maybe. But before you put together a proposal, find out, or to put hours into this, simply do this. You, the company, will give X the customer, or give that customer X in return for this amount of money, and see if they even agree to that. Then you can put together all the cross the T's, dot the I's to make that there. The last thing you want to do is put together this entire proposal saying all this information to find out that these numbers don't even work for them. Right? And I've spent so much time putting together proposals in my life to find out that the numbers are way off. That's just a question that you got to ask very quickly. what are you looking for? We can give you that. It's going to cost you basically this. Do you agree? Okay, now we'll put together a full proposal.
Like you did for me.
Yeah.
Sure did.
See how easy that was? Too many businesses worry about having a proposal set more than what they are offering. Ultimately, that's why they're hiring you. You could do this on Craigslist. Craigslist does. Think about how a Craigslist ad or a yard sale work. They list the product and make the transaction. Try and make that easy. Don't overcomplicate the situation. If you could make $1 million by selling your product on Craigslist, would you?
Yeah.
So don't be afraid that Craigslist is a tool to do that, right? Like that's a tool that does it. It puts the product out there. It makes the transaction, it bridges the gap. And know what you're going to do. Know what you're going to sell. What's the going rate in the market? Just to pick that number and go with it, and then go sell. I think I show a couple examples. To recap this piece, finding, incentivizing, and convincing your target customers to make the purchase. Remember that your target customer could also be or just a referral of a friend, not just the actual target customer. Be patient. Very little sales happen immediately, which is why I'm interested with you guys, because you guys, I don't know how. I'm gonna try to figure out how you guys got into the process. So Mike, I know when you came in, I said, how'd you find us? Somehow you opted in. We talked a little bit about Richmond. So there was some sort of familiarity throughout time that when we finally gave you something that made sense, that trigger was pulled.
Right.
Right. And so we have to trying to figure that over and over and over again is something that is what we like to try and do. And I haven't talked to you about how it happened yet, because I have no idea. Did you call me on the phone 2 days ago? Someone did.
Downtown Norfolk Council.
Right. So they put it in the newsletter.
Yes.
And then you did. Okay. So they validated us
Yes.
saying this.
And you were in Norfolk Face.
Right.
And that was attractive.
So finding those little like pieces is very important to try and do if you ever do get to that point where you can scale a business, basically, right? Because it's like, okay, how do I replicate that situation 1,000,000 times, right? And so now I say, okay, so getting our thing, so we're DNC members, right? How do I make sure that those events that I want people to know about are in their publications so I can do those things? And how do I make sure that you, when you're looking for that scenario again, that we find it and then that you get on our list and we send you that thing, and finally when we sell you something, it works. And that's trying to learn as much about customers by giving them educational things. Email sales with strong call to action can be very effective. Worked twice. And the 5 to 7 interaction rule and trying to master sales. 2 things left. So there's a process in kind of lead business methodologies called MVP. It's called minimum viable products. You may or may not have heard about it. I believe you can use it throughout all of business. It's basically trying to rapidly prototype a solution to a problem. And although we like Aaron Rodgers here at Hatch, we're not talking about him. How to launch your company with just the tools in your pocket. I think we're very good at this. So definition, it's a development technique in which a new product or website is developed without sufficient features to satisfy adopters. The final complete set of features is only designed and developed after considering feedback from the product's initial users.
What did you call it again?
MVP,
Yeah.
minimum viable product. Minimum viable product.
So what is the least amount of stuff you can start with to start the
So the
process?
first thing we said on the very first page of the slide deck at the very beginning, how to validate and verify your product without spending as many resources, spending the least amount of resources possible. So it could be 1,000,000 resources to figure that out, or it could be 1. That's what we're trying to figure out. And so and we'll show a couple of examples here in a second. 3 questions: what problem are you solving? How do you solve it? And can you serve that immediately? And can you physically solve it? That's a key to this. Just because you have a great solution doesn't mean that you can do it. So can you actually do it? The key to throwing, the key is literally taking your hands and filling them with stuff, throwing everything at the walls and seeing what sticks. And I believe that you should probably try and do that 3 times. If you can do that thing, throw it at the wall 3 times, and it converts or does that answer that you want, then you probably have something that you can make and take that assumption, say that data is real. You establish a foundation to start building the final product, and you gather as much feedback as possible from the customer's input. So Carey Norfolk, the company you just purchased, this is how they started. So I'm the founder of the company. My name's Ian, and I think that people are lazy and want things delivered immediately. I'm going to take a piece of paper and say, get whatever you want delivered. Yes, this includes Taco Bell. Here's my phone number. And I don't even think at that time you had a website. Call me if you want anything. First weekend, $250 in transactions. I'll deliver whatever you want, and it's $5 on top of whatever the fee was, and to do that. And went to places where he thought people would went to a college campus in downtown, and made $250 the first weekend. He made enough transactions that weekend without having any physical infrastructure, and was able to say, okay, it looks like this. People want this. And then started building the infrastructure around it. And then in its heyday, looked like this. So then they built out the infrastructure and did that. Had a solid idea, no cost to implement, validation plus feedback. They figured out what people wanted. They found that people wanted beer delivered, and figured out some laws around that. Growlers. All right, so t-shirt example. We hosted events, did a Startup Community Address in January. This is the shirt I wear. The assumption, or the idea is around no-well hunting, which is an economic development term to recruit large companies to your area. And the entire premise of the event was that we should champion our own businesses local and try and grow that, not try and recruit some company that doesn't make sense to be here. So we designed a shirt like this. A ton of people came up to me and said, oh, I want that shirt. How do I get it? Here's the link. You can go purchase it. I think we've made 6 sales on that. So instead of trying to physically print out a bunch of shirts to find out that no one wanted it, we gave them a link, and 6 people did it. And so we didn't have to worry about all that overhead. And to do that, there's sites like TeePublic, teepublic.com that does that. And it's a way for you just to put a design up there, make a little bit of money when someone does it. And so the hassle is taken off of us. So we have to do that. And so I'm glad we didn't print out 100 of them and spend $3,000 to do that to find out no one wanted them. We found a solution that was already out there to do it. I've seen a ton of companies that just use Craigslist as their aggregator and make a ton of money off of it to do it. So February 10th of 2014, I thought about writing, someone said, you should write a book on how to do things for $5 with the marketing. I said, cool. So what I'll do is I'll produce a post. I actually paid $5 for this design right here on Fiverr. And I said, I'm going to write a book about ways to market your company, a bunch of different ways that you can market your company for $5. Here's the idea. If you want to pre-order it, go here and buy this link. 1 pre-order. So I spent $5 and a little bit of time to write this post, and I made 1 sale. So you know what that made me realize? Don't write the book. And it wasted my time. Actually, it wasn't my mom. But normally it would be. And the reason I came up with that, I did write a book. I did write a white paper, and I made $800 on it. I learned a lot from that process, but I'll never do that again because it didn't make sense to do that. It took way too much time to get something as a tangible asset behind it. And it's not like that thing is, it's one thing if you can write like a white paper or book and then get a ton of stuff off of it, not just financially from that transaction, but other stuff. It's just, I wrote a book that didn't matter. I wrote a book about building a startup community. no one cares about building a startup community. People care about building their own company. And so if I learned anything from a lesson, it's saying, don't build a startup community or write a book about a startup community. Write a book about how you can help people's businesses, which is really what we did. We just didn't write about it. So just because people say they want it doesn't mean they actually will buy it. Physically try and get them to buy that. Add the barrier to entry, which is the real money. And money is the best way of knowing if someone is actually serious about it. I guarantee you there's a ton of people that told you they're going to buy the game that are lying to your face.
Yep.
No,
And
it's
so
true.
you just
Just
gotta,
the feedback from the game.
yeah.
Just people are nice.
Validation, why is this so important? Because before you waste your time developing your detailed business plan step by step, figure out if anyone even wants it. If you don't validate first, you could spend months or thousands of dollars working in the wrong direction, knowing that you might get there anyway, but you don't have to waste that time developing that plan to figure out that, oh, by the way, we're on day 2 now and this happened instead of this. Plans are great, but in startups, it's about figuring out what works first and then establishing kind of some process later. So some ways that you can validate if you don't have your product ready. Offer discounts to entice people to buy. Do a trial run with things that you have in your pocket. Gather feedback to improve the product based on your customers' input. And any way to eliminate the barrier of entry through financial means is what you're trying to do. Again, the goal is to spend the least amount of resources, time, and money to find and sell to your customer. If you waste 7 days trying to figure this out or a couple hours to figure this out and it doesn't work, you spent a heck of a lot less time than you would have establishing a huge plan to find out that it didn't work. Again, most ideas probably will work, but the problem is most people don't have the execution to go out there and do those things with it. So business plans are fine, but if you're not going to execute anything on it, don't waste your time doing it. So you got to get out there and see if you can do those things. All right, and finally, the playbook. So as you're building all of this infrastructure, this is probably the one thing that when you establish it, you are going to love it. It's very difficult. It's very tedious. It's a lot of manual work. But a playbook is basically a step-by-step checklist of how you accomplish the goal that you were trying to get to. So the playbook is how I got each of you, in this case, to sign up for this class, to get you to that boot camp. So it might be one layer one way, one layer a different way, manually reaching out each of those steps to then try and replicate that over and over again. I actually learned about this technique about a year ago, and as soon as I heard it, started implementing it from a guy from this area who now runs a company in New York called Skillshare, Skillshare.com. It's an online educational tool, and he says, look, we do the exact same thing over and over again. Then we realized if we would just start writing down what we do at each layer, it would be easier for us to do that instead of trying to remember what it is each time. And I'll show you what one of our physical playbooks looks like as well. And we're constantly trying to change them, but it's very tedious work. And it sucks, but it's so beneficial because you know exactly what to do each time and how to do it. It's not a business plan. It's a breakdown of what you do. You record each step along the way.
One of the things I've read many times in a whole bunch of different places is one of the biggest things about starting a business and running a successful business is the paperwork part of it.
Sure.
The records you keep.
The 80-20 rule. The 20% is 80% you love, the 20% you hate. The 20% is what's going to really grow your business. Right? It's the accounting that you don't want to do. It's going to call that lawyer. It's trying to do all that. Yeah. And then when you're actually at that point for growth, if you don't have stuff like this, or even a little bit of it, you're like, well, how do I do that? And so you're trying to remember it. You have to backtrack anyway. Just taking a couple of notes can help it. So when you go to do one of these playbook activities, you know exactly what to do in a more lean fashion. somewhere like to hike. The football, is the player going to go here? Is he going to do this? What's each thing going to do? And it takes the trial and error out and replaces it with production. So one example is I ran a marathon last year. I didn't set a time to it. I just said I want to finish. And I finished, so now I have a data point. And now you backtrack and say, okay, I did this. Now if you want to beat that goal, here are the steps that you did. Are you laughing because I did this? I ran a marathon?
That is laughing on my screen.
Oh, because you can laugh at that too. That was pretty bad. Then you try and backtrack and say, okay, these are the steps that you did to get to that point. For maybe tweeting a post, bad, good, excellent. Oh, God. That's terrible.
You have met it, right?
What time? Okay, so tweet. What time of day are you doing it? Start tracking that. See what works for you, what doesn't. What types of people to tag or things to hashtag, and what type of content at certain times. If you follow me on Facebook, sometimes I go on these posting. I don't know what the word is. I post a lot, really frequently. Binges, because the posts start converting. So you start seeing if you can do a series of posts to get that activity to go up. That's just one example. And I'll show you this specific playbook. So because we do a lot of events, there's a lot of specific things that we have to do, like send a press release to these people, tell this person this, who to tell, how to do it. And then with writing blog posts, what do you want to write about? Who do you want to include? When to post? How do you direct people to use it? What type of call to action you want to use? And define your objective at the end. Let me show you the playbook real quick.
We're getting a copy of the slides, or they're going to be a slideshow?
Yeah, both. All right, so we call our playbook the annexation of Puerto Rico, if you remember Little Giants. So for our big events, which are events that are typically 100 people or more, that happen on a specific date every year, these are the steps that we would do to do one of those things. For a smaller event, like so for like Coffee Downtown or Start Night, say set up Eventbrite, set up meetup.com for the physical event. Then you push to the Eventbrite list of the people that are on that specific list for it and announce. Then we post on Facebook, then push the link to this specific site, post the individual link on a specific page, email the info to these people. At the end of one of these events, here's our template. Thanks for coming to this thing. Here's what we talked about. Here's what you saw. Here's what's coming up next. Here's some other stuff with you. So, what's that?
Nothing, just giving you a quick direction of crap.
We have a wiki that I've been trying to spend the last year getting her to use. My comment is, a wiki would be great for this.
I never use it, so he teases me about it constantly.
Well, I did not develop this boot camp on things that he requested you to do. I can promise you that. Thank you for bringing the food today.
Yes, but it is nice that you're reinforcing a lot of the stuff I'm saying.
It's hard to do a lot
I'm
of
not
these things. It's this.
Well, I did pay him. But, yeah.
A blog post, playbook. What's your goal for it? Is it to direct people to a certain thing? Solid headline. So certain things like how I added 29 emails to my list in one day, how we launched a new program and sold 12 spots in 3 days, like the specific things. Give them a call to action with PDF download. So physically saying like create the lead box for this piece. Make sure your post looks like hook, fact, story, and then sell. So that's that diamond piece. Things like that. All right, wrapping it up. Most people don't get this far. Why? They don't really want to start a business. They don't want to work to become successful. They want to put founder on their LinkedIn profile. That's a big one these days. They don't have time. They find excuses. Who has that? Oh, yeah.
Why?
because entrepreneurship has been sensationalized recently. And so everyone thinks that they can get on Shark Tank and meet with the sharks and do all these things.
Oh, it says they want to put down. I thought you said they don't want to put down.
Oh yeah. They want to.
Oh.
A lot of people want to do something, but they're not really willing to go at it.
It's easy.
It's easy. Yeah, it's easy to go on LinkedIn and say that.
And in a week, I'll be on Shark Tank.
Exactly. So why you're different. These are things that we like to push. Hustle City, no gimmicks, positivity. What?
Hustle City.
Yeah. All right. So what to do now? Launch your business, put everything together, follow up, push your company results on our Facebook page. I'll send you guys some stuff, stand up to give out. I'll send you guys the playbook, or not the playbook, all this, the slides, the video. I'll have to edit the video a little bit, so it'll take a day or so for that. That's it. Here's more info. Questions?